weird artifact.
Okay.
There's a weird artifact.
I don't know. Camera doesn't like green. Guess what soda that is?
I love that. Okay, you guys, we are live. It is time for another episode of the Hobo Chronicles with your host, Joel Valenzuela. As we learned from him in the last episode that we had him and Jenny on Citiz3n Glitch, that he had many adventures with that, and also apparently we should be looking for your parents, Joel. Is that right? Before we get started today.
I don't get where this is coming from, but sure. I mean,
just because, remember you said that people were always like, oh, where's your mom? Where's your dad?
Yeah, well, I mean, my dad's an urn somewhere, but my mom is also in the middle of a cattle ranch in the mountains of Mexico. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know which one will be easier to find, but it's just me. This is all you got right now. No,
it's all good. Okay, so thanks again so much for coming back, guys. I'm really excited to start for today. So if we're talking about like getting into history, right, in 1933, right, the U.S. government made owning gold illegal, right? Not selling it, not trading it, but owning it. And they forced every citizen to turn in their wealth at a price. And the penalty for not letting people know about your own property, like 10 years in prison, right? And what they don't need to say out loud is that they want to see what you have so that we could take it, right? And that's control. It's not honest governance. It's not mutual transparency. And control is literally the, asymmetry where power demands to see everything while hiding its own intentions and its own crime. And the reason why I bring up control so much is because, to me, that is the difference between privacy, versus just somebody just trying to control a narrative, right? And control is like Wells Fargo creating millions of fake accounts while monitoring every transaction that customers make. And when it comes to financial privacy, right, it's never been about criminals hiding from justice. If we look historically, we've seen, individuals protecting themselves from control. In Nazi Germany, bank records found that the Jews had perfect information and the public didn't know what was coming. Okay, in Soviet Russia.
Minute 3 and we're at the Nazis, man. This is gonna
Say
be
what?
Show. Minute 3 and we're at the Nazis already. This is gonna be an interesting show.
It should be interesting with you always. In Soviet Russia, right, the financial surveillance crushed dissent because the party could see everything while revealing nothing. And in China, your payment data, trains the algorithms, control your behavior while the algorithm's intentions are state secret. So consent requires the truth. You can't consent to what you can't see. You can't make informed decisions when information is weaponized against you. Okay, and today we're talking about a tool that breaks that monopoly. We're going to be talking about Dash's Orchard integration, zero-knowledge cryptography, letting you prove you're playing fair without showing your cards. And not because you're trying to hide something, but because consent requires that power doesn't get to see everything while hiding its harm. So let's get into it. If we're talking about the history of financial control, I would love to hear from both of you. When do you think we lost the ability to consent what we reveal to the world?
You want to take that one first, Joel?
Oh my God.
That's a hard one.
Well, I like getting into history with these things. It's important.
It really depends because there've always been some kind of surveillance of people. As long as we've lived in societies, there's been someone who's been poking around, sniffing stuff out, and the people in charge always had some sort of program in place to reward the people, the spies, as it were. As far as like surveillance, what we think about like that. So it's gonna sound silly. The start, I would say, is whenever you started to build like in the feudal system where you had a castle, and basically when the powers lived here and everyone else lived down here, look down, like, what are those guys up to? That's kind of like, ghetto flock, as it were. That's like the first flock camera was like the castle keep, just look it down. Like, that's literally how, like, as soon as you got altitude, as soon as you got the higher ground, it started to become like that. And of course, in the feudal system, The feudal lord was supposed to look after peasants in exchange for their part of their product, and of course, that's not all the way it always works out. So I'm sure that there was a lot of like inline keeping and things like that. But as far as like surveillance was hard before. Surveillance was like it was a manual labor. You had to like go and look at people, and then what do you got in your house? Let me kick down a door and be like, oh, it's under the mattress, and it was just so much work before. So I guess what we kind of think about like loss of privacy, probably what we think of when we talk about that isn't so much, they built a building that can look down on us a little bit. We probably think of automated things. So in that case, I would say anytime there was a literal old school definition, right, of wiretapping. Whenever we had wiretapping, where you could have communications going through phone lines, going through telegram wires, etc., and you can intercept those and monitor them passively, not go into their home and like be peeping in the window like with a little hat. Like whenever, not that stuff, but whenever it was automated is kind of when stuff started to go downhill. And now everything is super automated. So that's kind of where we're at now.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't remember the exact verbiage of the question. I'm
like when we started to lose our privacy.
Okay.
Historically, when you felt like, and it not just like from your, I'm not just like, okay, like breaking it down, but kind of like breaking down, like, in the way that Joel did, when you feel it was significant loss of privacy.
Joel, do you hear my voice on her end?
Yeah, Denny's echoing like nobody's business. I don't know what it is.
Okay, testing.
It should be fine now. I'm muted. Is it okay now?
Yes, I think it is.
Yes,
yeah, we're good.
It's great. It's just a glitch, a citizen glitch, as it were.
A citizen glitch, yes. Yeah, we're being surveilled right now. Well, that's an interesting question. I think surveillance means a lot of things. Like, obviously, flock cameras, the new thing, right? And it's really not a new thing. It's just the new iteration. And, it's really interesting. For those who, maybe some non-English speakers out there, a flock, that's a word to describe a group of sheep. Literally flock camera. I mean, it's kind of weird how pathological this is, but when it comes to surveillance, I think the first surveillance probably is finance, right? I mean, that's where it begins, like knowing to control how you have your money, exactly what Dash addresses. What I think about a lot is the War of 1812 between America and British. And to be 100% with you, this, to me, the way I understand it with my research, it's not so much Americans and British fighting. It's the World Bank wanted to get back into the States. And how they did that is they incentivized the British to attack sailors, which caused the United States to declare war, a war we could not afford. And then once the war took place, then they gave us loans in a desperate case. And then those loans came with contingencies, as in you have to allow this, the global banking system back into the States. So that's specific to my area. But I think really, if you go before that, is surveillance, I think, is financial mostly these days. Now they want to get direct surveillance with flock cameras, a whole other topic. But I think if we fix the money, we're going to fix this whole problem. What do you think, Joel? That's what I want to do.
I think that'll change a whole lot of things. It's not quite as simple as fix the money, fix everything.
That's more.
But it's fix everything. Unfortunately, there's a lot of fixing you need to do.
It's so true. Yeah. Or can you? Are you Citizen glitch? Are you able to communicate? I don't know.
Glitching.
You glitching?
Okay, I don't know what's going on. I'm hearing somebody else's stream. Is it my camera? Is it me?
Oh, I hear Joel's voice.
It's got to be you. I think you must have a tab open somewhere.
Yes.
If I were to, what do they call it? Like, we'll do boomer tech support here, It's like, grandma, you got the thing open. No, the other thing. Still going on.
I closed pretty much every window, so. I think I know what the issue is.
Surveillance was hard.
Never mind. Yeah,
Perfect.
I was trying. I've been trying some new stuff to boost the stream, and I'm just being honest with you guys. I was using Otter to record, so then I could copy paste and then make a little summary. But then when I went to go copy paste, it's literally playing Joelle back speaking.
Yeah. You need the tab.
So no more otter. Okay. I'm always experimenting with new things. I tried to build an agent to do this very thing yesterday, but it turns out that humans in the loop are actually important for some things, because a robot doesn't know like when a train of thought is really done, right? So anyhow, enough about my little tech gambles. Denny, you were saying some really interesting stuff in terms of just financial surveillance in particular.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, if you can control the money, you can control the world, right? I mean, that's that's the whole engine of how everything runs. It's the transfer of wealth. And we see that now, where we're basically, I think we were talking about criminals before. Criminals currently control most countries, I would say, in the world right now to a certain degree. I mean, some criminal organizations are better or worse than others, but they all engage in, flagrantly illegal things, my country specifically. And they control the taxpayers through the threat of imprisonment if they don't pay their taxes, right? I go down a whole rabbit hole. But yeah, I mean, this is obviously resulting in an unbelievable catastrophe all across the planet in a variety of different ways. And with this new technology that we have, blockchain, very simply spoken, that we really have an opportunity here to not only correct the ship, but maybe add some permanence to it. I think humans we're predisposed to get soft during good times. So, maybe 2 generations from now, there'll be another wave of tyranny that comes through. But I'm feeling cautiously optimistic that we're really onto something here, and we really just need to dial in and push as hard as we possibly can. And this is why I just really want Dash to be on Thorchain for one. I want Dash to be absolutely everywhere. And Joelle, you have been spot on when it comes to not only improving the experience of Dash, right, but also privacy. Huge. So, I'll stop there. I could talk on for a while, but I want to make sure I give you your due.
I'm happy if you want to expand more, unless Joelle is dying to start, chiming about Dash. But, I mean, he is the Dash hero. We know that.
Yes.
But, like, I think, you know what? I'm sure Joelle has something to say about, you said something, about fear. And so it's from what I'm gathering from what you said, you really didn't feel like the whole consequences for financial privacy really became a huge issue until people started using it to try to, like, put people in prison and things like that.
I don't want to talk because I echo on your end. So I have to wait till you. I don't know why. I don't know why it's just not.
I muted.
You should control her mute button. Just be able to be like, lady. And then you can go.
Yeah. So fear, right? I mean, well, the thing is, people, as the world gets more and more crazy, people are going to want to go to privacy to protect themselves, not to commit crime. This is obvious, right? I mean, I just literally before jumping this, there was a female detective who got arrested because she was using a flock camera to surveil her ex-boyfriend. Lunatic, right? This is one micro example of this stuff being happening all the time. Law enforcement routinely breaks the laws and commits horrible crimes against their own people. Privacy is just needed for a healthy, functional society. If you are not private, that just gives the empowerment to criminals, people who wish to do harm, to extract value from you in any way they possibly can. I think it's like 1% of the population is psychopathic, at least 3% sociopathic. That's a lot of crazy people out there, right? You get a group of 10,000 people, and you've got a decent chunk of lunatics in there. We need privacy, just bare minimum. And privacy is something that the government can enjoy too. You know what I mean? Although I think the things that they do with public expense should be on a public, I think that should be public. That should be KYC, KYG, right, Joel? Know your government. So, but yeah, I'll stop there.
Yeah. The thing, privacy is an interesting subject because it's kind of one of those weird, almost contradictions in my life where I'm kind of living You sound funny. Say I'm kind of living like a terrorist in a lot of ways. In that, like, I got,
Joelle, don't get us shut down.
I got like open source everything, encrypted everything, cypherpunk everything, like no thing, just like a ghost, man. Like everything is just like hardcore, and yet hardcore freedom thumper. Yet I'm personally one of the people that needs freedom the least, if you want to think about that. As far as I don't really, I don't do drugs. I don't do anything weird and crazy. I keep it to a cocktail or two and a latte or whatever. And I don't do anything far out there. I don't really break any laws. I mean, also for the purpose of the stream, I don't break any laws. But like, also behind the scenes, yes, I don't really do that. Literally everything that I want to do is like legal and relatively societally acceptable. But so like I really do have like nothing to hide. But that's against the point. I think when you start to become, I think where it comes is if you care about stuff, you become an activist at some point. You just kind of, it goes that direction. And I don't want to be like patting myself on the back or anything like that, because my aims are selfish, the same as everyone else, that I, one, get super bored doing stuff I don't care about. Everyone does, kind of, but I get more bored. My boredom is more terminal than for other people. And like, I can't work a boring job, or I just won't do well at it, right? And then two, I want to live in a world that is shaped by these things that I value, like, freedom, sovereignty, privacy, all these great values that, I mean, I think they're great. And so therefore, it's something that needs to be sort of pushed. Now, unfortunately, the world is full of people a lot like me and very different at the same time. The world is, I don't know, it's not run by, but it's run at the behest of, or supposedly for, the middle class, as it were. No one is saying like, oh, we need to make life better for the rich. No one's saying that. Few people are really saying we need to make life better for the poor, because they're like, they don't contribute to society, whatever. There's always that. I think we need all types, right? I mean, hopefully we don't need the poor to stay poor, right? That's the one exception to that. Hopefully they get them all to do better. But the point is, the average normie thinks like, lives like, they have the needs and parameters that I do, but they don't think anything like me in this way. Just, I have nothing to hide. I don't care. I'll trust the systems in place. And then that's why they become the first victims of when the system starts to become a problem. So privacy is an interesting thing where it has become an analogy for cypherpunk values in general, even though there's lots of things involved with that, but privacy is kind of the first thing. First of all, we think about freedom. There's so many versions of freedom. There's so many flavors of it. There's so much of it and so little of it all over the world. What keeps me where I'm at, focusing what I'm doing, is the things that are very unique to parts of America that you don't really see outside, which are the combination of the First and Second Amendment, as it were, to the Constitution, which are, you have an enshrined right to say whatever you want, the free speech idea. You can say whatever you want as long as you're not like inciting violence or something direct. Other than that, you can just say what you want. You have your right to that. That's enshrined in law. Now, there's always a million asterisks because the government, the enforcers of this hallowed sacred freedom law, hate it, unfortunately. But then the other one is a Second Amendment, which means you can keep whatever kind of armament you want, and no one can tell you anything. If you're not busting caps and people running by you, you could do whatever you want. Just it's for self-defense, and that's what maintains a free society. So the thing that doesn't really and then of course taxation is theft, but everyone pays taxes, unfortunately. But here's the thing, communication, if you can't speak freely, you can't act freely. And part of speech is privacy. Part of free speech is the ability to dictate how you speak. And so if I want to say, like, let's just say any kind of like the emperor has no clothes, right? Or this politician looks goofy, or that plan's never going to work, or socialist grocery stores, that's not going to turn out well. Like whatever nonsense you want to say, or very much sense. You don't always want to be saying it in front of the whole world where people get to see that guy is saying seditious things. Let's keep an eye on him. Let's do something. You should be able to keep that private. That's why end-to-end encryption for communications, etc., is good. But here's the thing: the beefiest language we have is money. Money is the language we use as humans to communicate what we value and what we don't value, and how much we value and how much we agree upon value. Money cannot lie. That's the real thing. That is, you can lie all the time. You can say, "Oh, I think this is great. I don't think this is great. This is cool." Whatever. But you're not going to spend money. You're not going to be like, you know what? I really value this, I don't know, piece of clothing at like $30, but I'm going to lie and pretend it's worth $5,000. So I'm just going to pay $5,000 for it. Who cares if I'm being dishonest? No one does that. That's where the honesty really happens. And so money as a language is incredibly valuable. In fact, that's one of the reasons why the Soviet Union collapsed, because of the socialist calculation problem. Under a non-monetary society where it just, produce this many nails, produce this many pieces of wood, produce this many factories, you have no idea what works out, what makes sense, what people can afford to produce, what the production actually gives. And so you need money and pricing in a free market to determine what people produce. You basically need to communicate that value everywhere. And so without money, you cannot build a society with any value, because you can't share that information of wants and needs throughout society. And so Ludwig von Mises predicted the Soviet Union would fall, I think, like 20 years before it did, or something like that, because he was predicting in a vacuum. However, the Soviet Union was looking over America's shoulder and seeing how they were pricing things and copying the homework, copying that language, that communication, and they limped along a lot further because of that. All this to say, the language of value is money, and it's probably more important than the language of regular speech at the end of the day. So if we need freedom of speech, we need freedom of value expression, and that includes having things publicly and having things privately. We should be able to say, I want to start a donation fund that will do this. I want to have a public disclosure of all whatever government expenditures are. I want it just to speak it publicly. I want that to be out there. Or I want to say, I donate to this cause, and send the transaction hash, and it goes right over, and the whole world can see that I spoke. I really spoke. I didn't just say stuff. I really spoke. I value this. That should all be able to be fully public. But also, if I say, you know what, I really want to donate to this, political cause, or this other cause, that in a way that I don't want the whole world to know that, because then they start making judgments or can start lumping me in with that or whatever else. Or I want to buy something, like if people knew how much I spent on my liquor collection downstairs, like that's kind of something I want to be private. Some things like that. If people wanted to know how much Denny spent on his furry costumes, it would be hell to pay, right? So like all this stuff needs to be private. Do you need to be able to choose consent? What do I share and what do I not share? This is for me and my family. This is for my accountant, my whatever. This is not. So that's why privacy, and I should say optional privacy, because sometimes you don't want to only speak into the void, into hush tones. Sometimes you want the whole world to know it. You should be able to speak. Freedom of speech. Privacy, the option to have privacy, is freedom of speech. If you don't have that, you don't have freedom of speech, and this absolutely extends to money more so than just the words I'm speaking. So, end of brief rant here.
No, I mean everything you said like makes total sense. I mean, like, I know some people might get upset, but for me, the biggest thing that exactly preach that shit, King, was that money is like the loudest language in this case. But what is it that people are trying to take away in financial surveillance? I mean, tech. They're trying to get to find out more about your money or find ways that they can get you to spend money on this, that, or the other thing. And some people might say that that's sad, but it's like, well, it doesn't have to be. It's a reality. And why not, just, think about that critically the way that you have, and then adjust your life, accordingly, and to me, when I think about it, and I know Denny's got thoughts about this too, it's not just the option to choose, like, whatever the fuck I feel like not sharing. Of course, there's always that too. And then my favorite, the Fourth Amendment, the right to remain silent. That's right, y'all. I've said it before and I'll say it again. There are some things that I am absolutely taking with me to the grave.
That's part of privacy.
Yes,
Right?
it is part of privacy. But to me, excuse me, one thing that is different between privacy versus secrecy, the Italians, Italia, the Dash website, well, their page, because you guys have Dash Thailand, you guys have Dash in so many different countries, which is incredible. I love the way they defined it, that privacy is about consent and secrecy is about control, right? Because if it's control in a way that I am purposely omitting certain information, yeah, I'm trying to control the narrative in the way that is hurtful to someone. But it's also still very much my choice, and it would be your choice or Denny's choice too, to say, you know what, like, everything isn't your freaking business. It's not. And everybody does not need to necessarily know everything, but I would add on to that definition to say it's not just the things that we choose not to reveal to the world, it's the things that we choose not to reveal with integrity and intent that we don't reveal certain things. So that's kind of like what I would add on to that definition. I mean, I know in some of the cypherpunks writings, they said a secret is something that you don't want to tell anyone, but it's like, no, that's not true. Like, there are, if sometimes if it's something that I'm keeping to myself and I'm taking to the grave and it's not hurting a damn flea, that's privacy. That's my right. And it's your right, and it's Denny's right to take certain things to the grave. I don't know if Denny, you had any more thoughts to like expand about like what you think about privacy, because it is in my book, it is a human right. Anyhow,
Yes, it is.
enough off. I'll get off my soapbox now.
Yeah, no worries. I like something that Alex said from my protocols. Like, you can think privacy. Like, imagine if we all lived in our house, but it was a glass house, right? Completely transparent. A glass house that anyone can see into. And if you lived in a glass house, your behavior would change, right? You would not live the way that you live now, for a variety of different reasons. Maybe you don't want people to see you naked or doing things or whatever, but your behavior would change significantly. And if you do not have the sense of privacy on many different fronts, your behavior changes. And this is also a form of control, right? It can stop dissent. This is easily imaginable a future where, we talked about flock cameras in the future. You have flock cameras literally everywhere. You have them on walkways, you have them on road signs, right? Flock camera literally tracks you from the moment you leave to wherever you go. So, like Joelle's point, expressing a political opinion. Well, what if I went to a political party's building to register to become or get campaigns? Like, there are so many dark elements here where that information is power, right? Privacy, I think, really subdues the ability for tyrants to do tyrannical things. And that's why it's necessary, again, for a variety of different reasons, for a society to function, but just to keep the boogeyman at bay. If the world is private, then there's just not much information out there for you to weaponize. I see very little utility in having publicly available information about the common citizen. I think there's probably very little utility, maybe almost none. But I see a very high utility for having government bodies to be fully public and fully auditable, we have the inverse relationship today. Obviously, that's the thing we're trying to fix ultimately. I'll stop there.
I think that's like a good place to stop, you know? I mean, because you said it earlier, like information is power for sure, but financial information would be the language that Joelle would probably say is the language that speaks the most today. Am I not wrong in thinking you would say something like that, Joelle?
Yes, exactly. There's so much. The other, if I'll break it down a little bit simpler, even we're talking these high-minded ideals and why people need privacy, when they need the choice of this. But more importantly, people want a choice in what they want to do. They want to say some stuff. They want to not say some stuff. They want to buy some stuff publicly. They want to not buy some stuff publicly. They want to. Some people know stuff, but not everyone. And as long as people want something, they will do it. And the only way you can stop people from living free is through force and violence. So when you don't have the right to privacy, that's because you have the right to privacy if you pursue it anywhere. You have the human right, the universal and inalienable right to privacy, because you want to do it. And if you get that forcibly removed, it requires some of the most unspeakable evils that the human race is capable of in order to enforce that. So like you say, hey, I want to start a private group in my house where we just talk smack about all our neighbors. It's just me and my few friends over some drinks, and we just want to do that, but it's private. We're not going to tell anyone. In order to force that to not happen, you have to pay someone or to get a bunch of guns and armor and kick down your door and literally drag you away if you don't like let the whole world hear what's going on in there for something. Like in any these very most basic things, if you don't have financial privacy, then you literally have to throw people in jail for using privacy coins. Like that's literally what you have to do. It's not just, well, you know, I think privacy is worth this, I think it's worth that. Well, if someone thinks it's worth something, they will use it. What are you going to do to stop them? What was that Ayn Rand quote? It's not about who's going to let me, it's about who's going to stop me. And stopping means a lot of violence.
So it's almost like violence and money go together.
Well,
Okay,
I would say
I'm kind of trolling, you know that, right?
yes. Well, the reason why they end up being spotted in the same way. Well, violence and money go together the way cheetahs and gazelles go together. You see them together a lot, but one is always trying to chase and extract something out of the other. Money is value, it's human value, and there's violence crops up around that to try to steal that value. So that's why think about all the crimes. Don't think about too many crimes. You don't go too dark, but think about the kinds of things that they like lock you up and throw away the key for in just about any country. But the categories, it's like, well, you have to like seriously hurt a lot of people. And that's for the most part what you go away forever for. The exceptions to that are doing something against the government that's a little too powerful. Therefore, they have to set an example, make an example out of you. And the other thing is always what they call like financial crimes, especially the financial crimes to the government, i.e. not giving them all the money that they think that they want from you. Then they throw away the key. So it's clearly what does the government view as valuable or not is based on what they will exert violence over. And it's a little of a dark thing, but it's true.
Or if they're a different country and you try to make a competitor to the central bank, you're typically not a country anymore after that, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, there's some rabbit holes on that whole thing too. Like, it will be very interesting to see on a different note what happens with geopolitics surrounding crypto. Because right now, crypto is just everywhere. People do random things. People pay for stuff. Like, at what point are people going to start wars over, like, geographical hash rate or things like that? I mean, we're seeing, for example, with the whole Strait of Hormuz thing with the Iranian government asking for payment was a couple months ago, whenever it was, using crypto to ask for payments. If enough of this stuff happens where they're unable to exert financial control over nation states or other large groups like that, you're going to start to find people, it's becoming a matter of national security to use violence to try to control crypto networks in some way. Like, it might be that, let's say, all the developers or all the major node providers or whatever of whatever it is, some network that is used a lot by a rival nation. Like, let's just for the modern stuff, just say like Russia, right? Say Russia starts transitioning to a very crypto heavy economy, and let's just say there's increasing tensions. It gets worse than it is right now with the Ukraine conflict, and at least from the Russia-US standpoint. And then people are using some crypto a lot in Russia, and it's allowing them to not be influenced by these international sanctions and things like that. You can easily see a world where, for national security purposes, a bunch of people who are node operators as well as developers, etc., of a certain chain could be, if they're in the U.S. borders, then yes, they could be like arrested or something. But even if they're in a neutral third party, the no extradition treaty, whatever, I could see a potential like military action or invasion to compel to do something in those lines. Like, I can see that as a possibility. It will get ugly at some point. I thought things would get very crazy because a lot of the Bitcoin hash rate in particular is out of China. And then China sort of got rid of that liability for the US for them somehow by doing a lot of restrictions on mining. So now most of the hash rate is in the US. So most of a giant chunk of the Bitcoins are held by US entities and people, and most of the mining power is in the US. So it's kind of a US controlled currency right now to a certain extent. And I remember the good old days when it used to be a lot of people all over the world, but also a lot of people in China. And now it's a little more complicated. And I wonder if all the Trump family signaling towards they're going to build out a made in America and all this stuff and American Bitcoin and all this stuff, I wonder if that has anything to do with strategy that way, that they're thinking, oh, well, we want to be able to stop people from using this someday.
Yeah, there's definitely, I don't know. You notice that a lot of crypto advisors has really recently been stepping down. I don't remember their names from the Trump administration, so I think maybe things are falling apart a bit, but there's definitely some sort of plan there. But I think it's so important to what you said, Joel, about, there could be wars committed over blockchain. It's very interesting to think about. It's hard to really model it in my brain because there's so many variables, but I think this is where privacy again comes so important. Like for Thorchain example, some node operators are known public entities, but a lot of them are anonymous. Such an important redundancy, right? And we have the saying, I think Boone said it first, decentralization doesn't matter until it does, right? That's probably been spoken by other people, but anyway, it's so important that we have robustness to our technology, so whatever they do, it just falls flat. They fall flat on their face, right? Yeah. So and first thing too, like, let's just say they attack a blockchain, whether it's Dash or Thorchain or whatever chain, insert chain. I think that's pretty problematic because, one, that acknowledges fear. That is a sign of weakness when you attack something like this. That's a sign of insecurity, and people pick up on that really quickly, right? That, wait a minute, they wouldn't be attacking if they didn't feel there was a very important reason for do this. So whether or not the government attacks or does not attack, I'm pretty sure if the first principles, if I thought about them correctly, they're going to lose either way. But if they attack, they only shoot themselves in the foot, 100%, right? Like if you, let's take Thorchain. If you destroy Thorchain somehow, some way, I think that's very hard to do, but let's just say you do it. Well, it's open source code. It'll be forked. It'll be started again in a country you name your least favorite country, and they can make a version which is far less free than 13. Regardless, the technology is always going to exist. So if they start wars over this, they start conflicts over this, I think, unless it's completely catastrophic, it expedites us to a better future. So, but we'll see. Difficult to figure out.
Wait,
So-
let me just, sorry. I mean, I'm not sorry because I'm American, you know. But like, I'm just trying to understand. And I know, Joelle, you were excited to say something, but I just wanted to clarify with Jenny, like the last thing you said. Are you saying you think it would be a good thing if we started having wars over crypto? I'm
No.
just trying.
No.
No? Okay, so I totally misunderstood.
I'm very anti-war. I'm just saying the government. Listen, you don't have agency. What the government was like. I got involved in politics to try and fix the system. No, unless you are a very powerful foreign lobby, you do not have a say. We, the people in the America right now, we do not largely have a say. Maybe New Hampshire is a really great bright spot. Joelle, thank God, Joelle's there. But I know in Arizona, I do not 100%. So what the government does, I'm not advocating for anything. They're just going to do what they're going to do, right? So if they do bad things, though, if they go the violent route, I think that results in their demise sooner rather than later. At least I hope so. But go ahead. I think, Joel, you were going to say something. Go ahead.
Yeah, so the way things work is people with power try to get more power, and then they try to abuse people once they have power. That's the way things work. So the whole thing that we've been able to do with the growth of technology. Now, technology is a double-edged sword. There are a lot of ways it could increase surveillance and control and other things like that. But like since the printing press, etc., being able to spread freedom is kind of the power of freedom tech. And so the things that got really cool with cryptocurrency especially, but there's other things, is to create permissionless tech. We want our lives to depend on, because our lives will depend on technology. That's just the way the world is, right? We're going to use things that we're going to use anything, right? Use things that are the best in the world for whatever we want. And that's always technology. Technology will grow. Our lives will get better. We want it to be permissionless. We want no one to be able to control it. And the only way it can remain permissionless are three big things. One, it has to be free open source software, FOSS as it's known. Because if it is free open source software, no matter how centralized or awful, whatever the end product is that comes from it, you can just copy, paste the code somewhere else and just start over again. You can just do the same thing. And so, like, for example, one of the things, there's been a wellspring of freedom around the world over the last couple hundred years or so, partially because the source code for freedom of the best version of freedom we had at the time was open source, which is the U.S. Constitution. And for example, Mexico copied the U.S. Constitution very heavily. It became very close derivative work. There's so many countries around there that also that saw that same document, that open source code, and copied it and modified it under whatever, and then there you go. And so if one country falls, you have others, because you could just say, like, if America burned to ground tomorrow and I went somewhere else, I would be trying to copy the best elements of the source code and put it into whatever the new spot was in order to still have freedom. So free open source software is the big pillar, number one. Number two is decentralization, because while free open source allows you to keep on copying centralized things, so therefore you can switch from one to another, ideally there's something you don't have to switch from when it gets taken down. So you need structural things around the world. Like if there's, say, Ripple, you want to attack Ripple Labs and just say, you know what, start changing these transactions, start doing this, start blocking that. Well, they control the UNL list, which says which are the validators in their circle that will approve transactions. And so by doing so, now you can't, like, you have one company that can pretty much shut down the whole network. So that's not very decentralized. That's not something I would rely on. Or if you have, let's just say Bitcoin mining pools, there's a couple of giant ones. And if they get compromised, the good thing about Bitcoin mining is anyone can participate if they have enough equipment and resources. But the current few pools, you could come after a couple that are in the US and control the hash rate, and then they're kind of cooked. So you want something to be decentralized. Privacy is the third one that maintains permissionlessness. And think about it this way. You have, let's just say you had a encrypted messenger. Let's just say something that lets people organize and speak freely and privately that no one can stop. And governments hate this kind of stuff. They wanted to shut something like that down. They're like, all right, first, let's go after the source code. Well, first thing, the source code's open. Everyone can copy and paste their own version anywhere else. So it's not like you take these guys down and that's it. You take these guys down, anyone else could crop up. But if you did take these guys down, it would take a while for that to gain traction. So you still want to take these guys down. All right, let's go to their HQ and knock out their servers and tell them they can't. Okay, there's no HQ. There's nodes and servers all over the world. So you can kind of get down one or another or whatever else, and they still have a bunch. Well, now it's really censorship resistant, or is it? No, because without privacy, they have a map of critical targets to take out all over the world. If you don't have privacy, they're like, this node here, this node there, this node there. And then as a nation state actor, especially, you can be like, all right, these are in our borders. We have some in England. We know the Brits, they do what we want. Nice turnaround in the last 250 years, but they do what we want now. And then it's like, okay, well, we got like the Argentinians, the MLA does what we like. He's a nice guy. He loves freedom, but he would shut down some servers for us if we told him to. All right, well, there's that. And then like, oh, Japan, they got a couple. And then like, you know what? China. Well, even though not on the best terms, they want something from us. We can barter with them. We can bargain and have them shut down these ones that are in their territory. You can snap your fingers as a powerful nation state and get a fully decentralized, permissionless, open source network taken down if you don't have privacy. You just take it all out. What about who are the biggest whales? Well, let's find out who they are and let's talk to them and just be like, you know what? You're going to be handsomely compensated, but you're going to be forced to liquidate your stack to crash the price and like just drive this thing into the ground. Boom. Sorry. If they know who you are. Now, if you have privacy, now all of a sudden they're like, well, there's nodes running. I don't know where their IPs are masking. They're all over the NIM mix net or something like that. So we don't know where they're at. And then, we see people moving funds. We know there's this much in funds. We know what they trade for. There's billions of dollars in this network. Who has some? Where are the people going? Where can we block that? We just don't know. It's privacy. That's when you have censorship resistance. And that's why you do need privacy for any system that's supposed to resist censorship long term.
Happy to report there are things on Thorchain happening to that effect, but I will not elaborate.
Well, I mean, you can't just be like, oh, wow, we're doing shit with Thorchain that has to do with that, and now saying we're not elaborating. It's almost like you said, I'm going to this really amazing after party, but, I'm not going to invite you.
Sounds like someone doesn't like privacy here.
It's not about that. Like, if you want to be private, don't hint at it. Don't bring it up.
Fair, but there are things. There's a lot of things. I'm transmitting my sound. Yeah, there we go.
There we go.
I cannot think when I hear myself talking to me. It's what Joel said essentially, right? Nodes. If you have nodes, if you can figure out where they are, you can shut them down. There's work being done in that regard to make that where that's very, very, very difficult to do. That's what it is.
Sorry, just a second. I was kind of muted there for a little bit, but like I love this. I think, and it's very interesting. But for the sake of a little bit of radical optimism, was there any times historically that you guys actually, in particular, feel very connected to, where people pushed back against people invading their privacy, victories for, consent that you guys are particularly inspired by?
I cannot publicly endorse this But I've been seeing a lot of cameras
Oh, I
going
know.
down.
I know. I know what you're talking about.
This pretty recent phenomenon, but I see a lot of cameras being going down all over the United States. And to me, that is so overwhelmingly topical to your question. It's really the only thing I can think of. I mean, there could not be a more pure, decentralized, just organic upwelling of rebellion, and it's from both sides. And it's really great to see. Of course, I don't condone people destroying property. Can't say that. Would never say that. But I think people want to be private. It's clear. And yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So I like, as far as like fighting back against surveillance, there's got to be a lot of like old timey historical things, but surveillance just wasn't that pervasive until recently. So the resistance against it wasn't the same. Like I'm sure like if you had people with like bugged TVs and stuff like that, or bugged phone lines and stuff, I'm sure people resisting it, like there was a lot of it under more repressive regimes than the US, under older technology. A lot of like people resisting or speaking in code, but like mostly people getting around this kind of stuff. Now, as far as recently, what I mean by recent, I mean like, because when you had cash payments and you had landline telephones and no video surveillance, you had to pre-record stuff, and like photographs weren't that great. It was the Wild West. It just was. And when you like look at what people did, like how people lived their lives back then, it was crazy. Like the kids these days are so soft.
So soft.
They just because of, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing either, by the way. I think the world was insane back then when all the crazy shenanigans where you could just like dump a body in the river and that was it. Like people wouldn't catch you. It's like wild to think how the world was back then. But then we start to get surveillance kind of crop in. There was a few big wins over that. First of all is just the decriminalization of encryption, because data over the internet was just not encrypted and people started using end-to-end encryption and they got thrown in jail for it, basically. They got threatened with imprisonment. There was some significant legal battles over PGP and some of these other kinds of forms of encryption, and the right for encryption was won. So that's one of the great resistances of that. I would say during like the heroes of our time, there's lots of heroes, thankfully. I mean, thankfully, some great people, but like the big ones that people hear about are Edward Snowden and Julian Assange, where we have massive amount. That was right when those came out. That was the end of the peak of the surveillance apparatus in the world. I think in some ways it might have grown stronger after that, but as far as like they were just surveilling everything and no one was doing anything about it. That was it. And then you had, post Patriot Act, and after the Patriot Act and all that kind of stuff really kicked into high gear in the following decade. All that, it was at its peak, its apex, and then Snowden dumped all, did all his disclosures. WikiLeaks did a much more like hardcore version of a lot of that stuff, just dumped everything out there that the government's doing. And since then, I mean, end-to-end encryption was already legal, but since then, it's just been the resistance has just been growing, where now, like, DMs on X are end-to-end encrypted now. Like, just WhatsApp is saying that's something else, whatever. But like, a lot normal people use Signal, as millions and millions of users around the world. Everything is HTTPS. People know what a VPN is. Average people use VPNs. Normies use VPNs because they got told that they don't want weird cookies in their browsing history. I don't know. They have a VPN, or more importantly, they want to watch Canadian Netflix for some weird goddamn reason. But like for the most part, it's just like privacy's never been quite where it is now as far as like a movement. And then we get into financial privacy. Obviously, you had cash, and then the prevalence of cash going down as like the surveilled payment systems going up. and cash is still around at the same time as digital cash is on the rise. And so it's kind of passing the torch, the physical to digital. The privacy that people had when Bitcoin came out, very limited. In fact, this is, my crypto boomer stories is like when I first got a Bitcoin wallet in 2013, it had one address. Like whenever people would send me Bitcoin, it'd come to the same address. That's it. And so literally every single payment was just like right there. And then they updated it to make it a hierarchical deterministic wallet or HD wallet. So you get a new time single payment address every time. And I didn't get it at the time. I'm like, oh, I just want to use the one that I'm used to. I don't know what's all these other addresses. The point is we go from that to then we start getting privacy tools built into protocols starting in 2012, 2014, all the way to today, when it's starting to become a relatively mainstream feature. And we've had a lot of people kind of suffer along the way for these rights, but we have them now. That's really cool.
Well said. Yeah. And maybe I'll just say for the audience, like things like KYC, know your customer, for those who don't know, like, you surrender your information to an entity so they know you, right? That data gets leaked. This is dangerous. I mean, people get abducted and killed all the time for data leaks, losing their personal information, right? If you figure out what someone's Bitcoin address is or their Litecoin address or whatever, you can look up, or their Dash address, and well, there's gonna be some privacy features coming to Dash, but the long and short of it is, if you've seen that they've had money in the past or they do have money, you can target that person, right? Like this is insane. This is insane. Living in the digital age, we got to return to form. And as Joel said much earlier in the conversation, back in the olden days, things were wilder and crazy, and you had bodies going down the river, and that's how justice was handled. And yeah, I mean, it's better to have more structure to justice, but there's also probably some good things about that. I mean, if that was like the village pedophile, I think society got better by him going down the river. But then also, if it was a business owner going against another business owner, well, then that's not really productive and toxic, and that's how monopolies are formed, right? But I think one thing we're seeing here is that a lot of the government does is protects criminals in some ways. I mean, there's just seems this upwelling, this just genuine disgust with government on both left and right, wherever you are political. Like these terms are becoming so meaningless, honestly. It's just people just want to return to form of just like a decent society. And I think ultimately this is why we're going to win, and this is why Dash is actually poised to do so well, because you just got the finger on the pulse, Joel. I mean, you've got it figured out. People want to be able to transact. They want to be free. And I think it's not going to go mainstream until the government really starts doing some sort of capital controls, right? Or like if there's like a mini bank run and they freeze things and, people won't have access to funds or whatever it's going to be. I think it can get real crazy real quick. And so I'm just so glad that you guys are thinking ahead. And so when people are forced to make the transition, maybe they don't want to, but they're forced to, at least they're going to have an escape ladder. It's going to be rough, but let's hope. Let's hope it works out.
Well, I mean, like, for me, and then I actually want to hear more from Joel about, Orchard in particular. I know this is going to sound a little whatever, but, like, I don't give a shit. I feel like, if we're going back to something that Joel said earlier, right, about the language of money and how much it speaks, and oftentimes how much that's connected to violence. I mean, if you have... Oh, no, Jenny! I don't know if his camera went out. But if you do have money, you always have a way to force some kind of privacy, because you've got leverage over people, right? I mean, money's great, but I heard a wise woman once say, if you don't know how to use it right, money just gives you the power to shut someone else up. It's not always freedom. A lot of times it's just the power to shut someone else up. For me, what Dash is doing and what some of these other protocols like Xano are doing is important, is because everyday people should be able to have access to privacy. You shouldn't have to feel like you have to pay someone to shut the fuck up. I'm not advocating for that anyways, just to be clear. Or people shouldn't have to use violence to get someone to be quiet. It should just be like a human right. Privacy needs to be accessible for everyone, and that's why I'm excited about what you guys are doing with Dash. Just saying.
Yeah, the thing about
Go ahead.
money shutting people up can and it can't. The thing is, like, what we're seeing
It's shut me up a couple times, and I'm bitter about it. But carry on.
Well, here's the thing. Also, something I should say about money, because it sounds like I'm like a money grubbing bastard. Oh, money is all the great. I love gold. It just seems like all that kind of stuff. Like, no, that's not true. Just being clear about what money is it's a the other part of money is fungibility, which is used as a weird like correlated for privacy in the crypto space. Thanks, Monero Bros, whatever. But it's a completely different thing. It just means that it's like interchangeable. One thing equals another thing. The reason why we need money to communicate we value is it's a common language. It's something we all agree on. So I value this. You value something else. You value a third thing. We don't all agree on what each of these is, but in a common market, we get like the group consensus of what this is valued at. That doesn't mean I believe it. So like, for example, like a Rolex. I don't care. I really just don't care. I don't give a crap about a watch. The only watch I have is this because it's the only thing that lets me pay with my de-googled phone anymore. And that's the only reason I have a watch. Because other than that, I just don't care. But some like a Rolex is super valuable to a lot of people. The only reason it would be valuable to me is because I can turn it into money and then get stuff I really want out of it. But also when it's kind of like pre-allocated, it's potential allocations of value. Whereas what people tend to do who have a lot of money is if they have or they earn a lot of money, they live in a not good condition, and then they buy themselves the ability to have everything that they want, which is okay, I'm like 45 years old or 48 years old or whatever. My wife and kids hate me because I neglected them during this whole run up doing this stuff. And now I'm going to, find a new younger wife who's going to put up with me even though I'm getting old and saggy and stuff just because okay, I got the money. And then what else am I going to do? I'm going to buy myself a comfortable surrounding. Oh, my health is deteriorating, I'm going to go pay for medical care. Oh, this and that. And they distribute that money to get the life that they really want, which is their life that they want. They might travel. I love travel. And then they go and pay for a bunch of plane tickets to fly over the place. And that's kind of how that works. What a lot of people whoever is like, ooh, money is not, talking smack about money. Well, then you must already have other ways of getting what you want. And again, this is funny because from someone who's all talking about how important money is as a communication for value and stuff, I don't care that much about money personally because I tend to go directly into what I want. I live where I want to live. I do what I want to do every day. I'm surrounded with the people. I work for the lifestyle I want. I am rich in life. So if I got $1 trillion, there's only maybe I'd spend like $500,000 on like stuff around the house because I want to fix up my house faster than I was otherwise going to do it. But other than that, that would all just go towards propping up open source and freedom movements all over the world because that's what I really care about and am working on with my life. But like all that to just say, that's the reason why there's this disconnect. Just like I care deeply about privacy, sovereignty, and uncensorable stuff, even though I'm one of the least censorable, least to hide people out there. Like I'm the most normie friendly in a lot of ways. It's because I want this for other people. And so when I have very little need for any more money, but if I like there to be money out there because I grew up with friends with dirt floors. I've seen people with nothing, and I want them to all have something. I want there to be more abundance around the world, which is why I like money to flow freely everywhere. I want people in every corner of the world to have at least my standard of living or more. So just that little disclaimer kind of about, how the whole, money's so valuable thing fits into people who don't necessarily care to hoard like a Bitcoin maximalist about to get wrecked on his cold card.
Yeah.
Too soon.
Yeah, that was really rough out there. Yeah, sad for the cold card holders. I think it's well said, man. Yeah, I'm the same way. I mean, I got a lot of kids in my extended family, hang out with them, and some are very young and they're just learning language, right? And they're so brimming with curiosity. They look at the world, they play with their toys, they know nothing about anything, right? But they're just so happy and vibrant and alive and kicking the ball around. And it's when they're that age, they're just brimming with optimism, and it's just a great thing to watch. So joyful, youthful, curious about everything. For me, it's like I just like my own family members, extended family members, to have a future that are young, right? I mean, I grew up in the '90s. I was born in the '80s. I had a great childhood, and just seeing the quality of life now for kids who are graduating high school or whatever, or maybe they're in grade school and they get a sense. I mean, it's looking very bleak right now. But I'm not a pessimist at all. I'm pretty much eternally optimistic because I believe so strongly what we're doing here and the power, Joel. This is just a push. Like people, it's like a gravity well. You know what I mean? People are gonna go to the stuff out of necessity, right? Even if you were the worst marketer in the world, I believe they will find technologies like Dash because they need them, right? Necessity is the mother of all invention. Well, necessity means you find out what you need. Um, that's where we're going. So I'm the same way. I'm not like the richest guy in the world, but I just want I would like to honor my ancestors. The Americans, as Miss Red Alark likes to say, and the founding principles of America I think are really beautiful. Just open free market, right? We got to return to form here. So many people are suffering. Yeah, dirt floors. Some people have floors made out of dung. you know, yeah, this is what we got to do. If we fix the money, so many people are the lives across the planet is just going to improve exponentially. It's going to be wonderful. It's what fuels me. I'll stop there.
Oh, and you're not wrong. I mean, it's also a way to empower people, right? I mean, and I think that's kind of like what we were talking about before. But in any case, I think we've talked about a lot of things preventing crime. We've talked a lot about a lot of things when it comes to like asymmetry and destroying certain things. But let's get into Dash a little bit more.
Let's do it.
Because I feel like I want to dash all the way. Anyhow,
Yeah.
Orchard, which is the latest thing that we're all very excited about, right? So, how would you define it, and how does it kind of change things with the cryptography in terms of asymmetry or any other thing that you feel like is pretty significant in this case?
Yeah, I think it changes everything. And I'm going to be one of those annoying old people when I get older. It just has to start at the beginning of time.
Wait, you're already annoying now. I'm kidding. Carry on.
It's about to get a lot worse, honey. I mean, let me tell you, it's going to get worse as I age, right? Just like every new cluster of grays is going to be another 20 minutes on every story that I tell. But so in true form, let's start from the beginning. So cryptocurrency started with very little privacy. The way you had new privacy is by creating a new address for every time you receive a transaction. Unfortunately, every time you spent it, a lot of times you'd have to combine from different addresses. And so anyone watching the blockchain could see, oh, here's money. That must be the same person because they're being spent together. And so Bitcoin had very little privacy. Ethereum ended up having worse privacy, by the way, by just like one address, not even the new address every time thing. So you have privacy. You have like a big lack of this thing. And people in the early days, like Satoshi Nakamoto, were talking about looking into ways of finding new privacy. Hal Finney, I believe, the same. And they talked about zero knowledge proofs and cryptography, but the technology was just nowhere near there at the time. Now, Dash's founder, Evan Duffield, another great man from the state of Arizona, he came out with a idea of let's build in some basic privacy tools into Bitcoin. And his idea was an integrated coin join, which is basically, as I might have explained before, if I have $20, if I have $10, a $5, and 5 ones, and you have the same, it's like we all throw them in a pot and mix them together, and we each pull out the same denominations. So now we all have the same money, but now they're from someone else. So like, Denny might get the one that has traces of cocaine and stripper booty on there or whatever. He might not. It's like it gets all sent out. So it's not like, these are your money, we can trace it back to you. It's like, well, they could be anyone. So therefore, don't get after me. So that does what is technically considered breaking the transaction graph, meaning I send to you, you send to him, you send to him, and if it goes sent to all over, and then it comes from this big jumble, now you're like, okay, the whole world can see someone sent this. So someone sent this amount to this address, but no one knows where it came from because it was obfuscated. Not hidden, not completely. It's all there. You can see where it came from. You just can't figure it out. So that was like a first big thing that says, okay, by doing this, we can make sure that if you buy coffee at your local thing in Bitcoin or Dash in this case, right, no one can see where it came from, or you need like military grade surveillance to undo it and figure it out and see where, how much money the guy paying had. Just basic financial privacy. Of course, the Bitcoin core developers didn't want to do anything. To this day, Bitcoin still doesn't have any extra privacy tools built in. So Dash was launched within a couple of weeks or so. Like what its first big feature was the privacy feature here. Now, Bytecoin came out in 2012 and had a basic ring signature thing. Monero, I believe, is a fork of Bytecoin, or at least based off of the code base of Bytecoin. Bytecoin's gone. Like it's not really, I think the chain's still moving along, but it's abandoned basically. So Dash is the oldest surviving crypto with any built-in explicit privacy features, and Monero came a few months later. So we had Dash that kept it all normal, like on it. All Dash transactions at the base level are just like Bitcoin transactions. There's the masternode network, this special layer of nodes, came in and moved around the money to make it, harder to trace. But other than that, on chain, it's all the same. Monero built in a different path, ring signatures, where you send one payment and there's a few decoy fake payments, because all the Dash payments are real. It's just it's harder to follow them. But the Monero ones, most of them are fake. And so fast forward 3 years, you get to, there's like the evolution in privacy. Fast forward, 3 years is a good time because Zcash had just come out like a few months earlier, and Monero implemented something called confidential transactions. And confidential transactions are a zero knowledge proof, basically some math that says, if all the money in confidential addresses, we can know how much is in all these addresses, but how much is in each individual address is not public. It's just like the average, you can average it out and be like, there's 100 addresses, 100 coins, therefore an average of one per, but this one could have, 99s, could have whatever. You get the point. So Monero's current stack is its ring signatures, which are sending plus some decoys that hopefully you can't. There's ways of paring them down and getting rid of the decoys, but for the most part, it's hard to tell where it goes. But that combined with not knowing how much they're sending, because that's cryptographically hidden, is kind of what makes it its thing. And Monero transactions were very large, like giant and very expensive. I think Monero had $2 fees at one point, and then something called bulletproofs was implemented, mathematical proof, which made the transactions much smaller. Zcash debuted zero knowledge proofs on a circuit. So basically, a Zcash transaction from the beginning has worked basically the same way in the privacy way, where you don't leak anything publicly, where all you see on the blockchain is someone in the shielded pool sent a transaction. How much was it for? Where did it go to? Basically nothing else there. So even if someone can say, someone can track your computer and find the actual like IP address associated with that transaction, be like, that was you sent that payment. That's all they know, that you used Zcash. Now, unfortunately, in the early days, the technology was new, and I saw one of the very first Sprout transactions in real life. The Sprout was the original Zcash pool. My friend took a laptop to a shop that accepted a bunch of crypto. And he went into his command line wallet and he typed some commands in and he sent the payment. And it took 10 minutes to generate the cryptographic proof on his laptop and then send. And then, of course, that has to be confirmed by the blockchain afterwards. So that's not something that's usable. No one is going to use that as money. It's space age math. No one's going to use it. This is one of the reasons why Dash kept its OG privacy thing for 12 years, basically. Just about 12 years, is because after you do the mixing ahead of time, you just snap your fingers and send transactions anywhere. And it's pretty private, but like you can also just use them on demand. You don't have to be like, well, let me generate this complex proof. Now, over time, the complex proof got better and better. It got smaller and smaller, fewer and fewer trade-offs. It started to become usable on mobile devices around about 2017, 18, or somewhere around then. You could start to do these on mobile devices instead of just on a full computer. And now it's like, oh, okay, this is cool. I think 2022 is when Orchard came out, which is the latest Zcash pool. Or not necessarily, there's Ironwood. That's kind of basically Orchard. There's some asterisks. Anyway, but basically, finally, you didn't need what's called a trusted setup to start it up. You basically could just, you didn't need a few people you trusted to sign the initial cryptography, which was a case with a lot of these previous ones. You could just do it. And it was small enough you could easily send like on mobile device. You get like your phone, you scan a QR code, in 2, 3, 4 seconds, then it sends your money out. And it's super private. So the time was ready. So I badgered the team a lot to do some privacy overhaul stuff. We talked about a lot of things. We explored a bunch of directions. And what happened was the lead developer of Dash, Quantum Explorer, Sam Westrich, he's a very, very brilliant guy, I should say. He's done so many crazy things. Most of the architecture for the evolution chain, the second piece of Dash, this new blockchain, is very similar in code base to what the Zcash stuff, mostly written in Rust. I don't know, anyone who's in crypto has always heard like the Rust rewrite is kind of a meme these days. Everyone rewrites it all in Rust. You don't need to understand if you're not technical, because I barely do. Anyway, but enough. So in 5 months of hard work, he was able to get an Orchard shielded pool launched on Dash. So now Dash basically has Zcash's privacy tech. So with a few changes and modifications. So here's the thing about cryptography and stuff in crypto. It took so much moon math, so many really good cryptographers, so many people. They've advanced the state of the art of cryptography, not just cryptocurrency, many times to get Zcash's privacy to where it was. What you don't want to do is mess with that. You don't want to be like, I'm going to do my own version. No, sorry, you destroy the whole thing. Like, so the actual core encryption, the cryptography part of the privacy thing is completely just drop in, drop out. And Zcash had an inflation bug in that in the Orchard implementation that was fixed before it got live in Dash. Now, as far as I'm aware, Ironwood is the same as the Dash one. The only difference is Ironwood, they have, or they're working on, I haven't checked it's been a crazy last couple of weeks, but like a formal verification proof that basically proves the supply mathematically. I'm sure that can be applied to Dash pretty well, but it's not, as far as I'm aware, a difference in the code base. It's just someone else proving the code base. But so Dash should be in Ironwood right now, I guess, depending on what your definitions. Point is, Dash has zero knowledge privacy, where now you can send a shielded transaction and you look on the block explorer and it just says, there you go, it got sent. Where'd it go? How much was it for? Just perfect. But more importantly, it's computed in just like a couple seconds. Now, here's where the differences come in, and this could be a very technical discussion. There's some technical bits already, but like it could be way more technical than it is right now. But to save some of that, while the cryptography is the exact same, how that is handled in a cryptocurrency transaction is a little bit different. And basically, first of all, the Dash evolution blockchain has 1 second block times and deterministic finality, which is what basically means permanent finality when you get a single confirmation. All this to say, in a normal mined crypto like Zcash, you have blocks coming out. Zcash, it's like 1.25 minutes they come out, and then the most hash rate, the most mining power determines which is the real chain. Someone could theoretically come mine a longer chain in secret and this be, haha, I'm the real chain, and it just overrides the stuff, which is why when you send a crypto to an exchange, they ask for a certain number of confirmations because it would be super expensive to roll that stuff back. Now, that's called probabilistic security or finality, because you mean that if every Bitcoin, this is like the mind blow thing, every single Bitcoin or other mined cryptocurrency transaction that you have could theoretically be reversed. It's super unlikely that someone could reverse a 10-year-old Bitcoin transaction because they would have to mine a whole more powerful, longer chain that doesn't include these transactions for 10 years and never tell anyone, and all of a sudden go, and come out and do it. It's really, really unlikely, but it is possible, is the point. With Dash's instant finality, it's not possible. 1 second, basically, and it's done. It's permanent. So that's already way more efficient for like everyday payments. And there's also some improvements that make it sync a lot better and faster. So right now with, say, a Zcash wallet, you download the wallet and you restore from your seed, and then it goes and picks back up the entire history of the encrypted notes that came through the network and builds back your transaction history and gets now it's up to the present day and you can use it. I've done that before, and it's taken hours, if not days, to get through like an old enough wallet to do. It's like a lot of syncing. Now, in a lot of the new Dash wallets, what we've been able to figure out, because of, again, a 3-hour podcast level of stuff that I won't go into, but basically be able to get that syncing from scratch in about 20 seconds. So you don't have to hang out with your wallet being like, oh, it's I'm going to wait a few hours, but it's zero knowledge privacy, so it's worth it. You can open it, and then by the time you need to use it, it's just ready. So that's really cool. And now that is released, there's some other things that will be happening, such as anonymous friend requests. Because right now, when you request someone as your friend on the Dash blockchain, you become a contact. That transaction where you do the friend request is like a public transaction. So like if you have your two names, like say there's Patriot Sounds and Red Alark, and they both friend each other, you see that they friended each other. You can't see the money they're sending, but you saw they friend each other. That's not good. So that's being worked on to use this new Orchard pool to send that request anonymously. So then you could just be like, someone friended someone, or no, someone sent some transaction, and then that's private. There's some other stuff that's being worked on to be private around the data side, but for the most part, that's kind of it. So anyway, now you can just send people Zdash, as I like to call it, and it just works. And I tried it out. There's a desktop wallet out right now that lets you use it. The mobile wallets are there. It works in public betas as far as like testing. So it's live on the beta versions with real Dash, but not released in the app stores yet for probably another week, maybe week and a half. So that's the big state of this. Anything I missed? Any questions? Anything like that?
What I think the syncing thing is big. Oh, go ahead, Red Alark. Sorry.
Oh no, just really quick. Like, well, it's about time y'all caught up with Venmo. No, I'm being really snarky today, but like, I'm messing with you. I mean, because on Venmo, like, one of the first things you would want to do if you really cared is make sure that everyone's not watching your freaking transactions on Venmo. And you have the power to choose if you want to have that public or private. I don't think everybody knows about that, but it's just like, I don't know why you would want everyone to see your Venmo statements. I mean, like, good Lord, how could I cheat on all my AI boyfriends? No, I'm kidding. But you get the point. Like nobody should be able to see like all that shit. Like it's just ridiculous. Like, oh, I bought a coffee for so and so. Oh, I got a beer for so and so. Whatever. It's just ridiculous. But like, honestly, I'm really glad that you guys are doing that, because that should be private. It absolutely should. Denny, I know you wanted to jump in.
Well, I love everything you said. The one thing that I think is great, and really I think it's the simple things. Like when I think about on ramping people, because people they're not going to understand the history of Dash, they're not going to be in that emotional investment, they're not going to know how awesome Joel is or what the community stands for or what they're trying to achieve. They just want the tech to work, right? And so just as simple as getting the syncing thing down to 20 seconds, that's huge. That means then the on ramping process becomes frenetic, right? There's little friction there. Someone gets Dash, they can use Dash right away, right? If you get Dash and then you have to wait a few hours, well, that gap can often mean the difference between someone transitioning to the system and or not using it, like saying, forget it, or I don't, whatever, I just blow it off. So I think that's probably one of the bigger things right now, honestly, and just intuitively the way I think of it. Of course, I'm on the privacy thing is huge for me. But if I'm just thinking about just a person wanting to start it for the first time, maybe they don't care about what we care about, that is huge. That is huge because it has to work at least on par with the conventional system that we have right now. Go ahead, Joel.
Yeah, and this was the biggest asterisk in the Dash world for a while. And I don't know, I can't 100% speak on why it was always this way. I think what happened is somewhere around 2017 and beyond, there was a lot more mainstream success in Dash, and then there was also the rebrand from Darkcoin, which is a 2014 name, to Dash in 2015, was partially to give it a less like cypherpunky kind of name, like a less awesome name in my opinion, maybe, but more like this is good for regular people kind of name, to try to get regular people on board. And there were some people involved at a higher level in the Dash ecosystem from let's just say from 2017 to 2022 that either did not believe in privacy that much, or more importantly, wanted to sort of downplay it to try to stay as accessible to the average person on regulated exchanges, et cetera, as possible for a while. And I don't think that strategy worked, and those people aren't with the project anymore. And that from 22 to 26, I guess, there was just so much heads down working on other stuff that even when there were people that wanted to work on an overhaul, it's like, well, we got other stuff we're working on in the meantime. So that kind of happened. Something about I want to say, like, if you could somehow magically have pre-mixed funds like this, I mean, obviously you have to be more careful to keep good privacy, but under the previous setup, at least you got to spend instantly. But if I sent you some money and then you had to hit the mix button, you had to just wait and have your battery drained on your phone for like an hour or two. And then, now it's good to spend privately. Like, that's the most anti-Dash thing you'd imagine. Like, it doesn't just work. So
yeah, you're not dashing.
Yes. And so it had to be something to fix. And the other crypto privacy protocols, like there's very few. There's like Firo is don't think it's a Dash fork, but they forked a lot of Dash's tech. It's very touchy with that, but they also have relatively instant confirmations with pretty high level privacy, and they're one of the few that does that. Now, like Monero, you still have to wait. So you have a chunk of Monero. Let's say you have a wallet full of that stuff and you spend it, you get change address, just like with all these coins, you get change back. You'll have to wait 10 blocks, which is like 20 minutes about, before you can send it again. And I've seen people like CEO of Edge Wallet do this in person, where he's bought something at a festival and then he's had to switch to a different coin because Monero is still loading. He couldn't send it again. So it's a built-in limit on that, as well as confirmation times. Also has syncing issues, right? And same thing with Zcash. All the Zcash, I think you can just, as soon as you get a confirmation, you can send. So it's like a minute or so before you can, send again. But you still have to wait a minute, and then, there's a lot of like headaches of like, this is kind of cool, but this isn't really working. And especially once you have tons and tons and tons of transactions going through the network, if you want mass adoption, you're going to not be able to sync your wallets in real time. It's going to be a giant problem. So the only other team I know that's really working on this, again, Zcash, right? Zcash is working on something called Tachyon, and there's a lot of specifics that aren't out yet. Now, the way Tachyon works, from my understanding, is all the cryptography and everything that you have in a transaction, they take as much of that as possible off the actual blockchain and put it elsewhere. And so in doing that, they can scale to massive levels. Now, the trade-off there is, from my understanding, again, this is what has been discussed and confirmed publicly, and this is, before it's released, so it could be completely different when it's released, right? Who knows? Just all the disclaimers. But so, first of all, you would need a special node type to sync your wallets, basically. So you need to build some new infrastructure. Now, Dash has its built-in extra layer of infrastructure that's funded by the same network. As far as I'm aware, Zcash is not trying to do that, in which case you're going to have to trust someone else to run these things. Even though they don't have a lot of knowledge they know about your transactions, it still is like, it could be a few companies running a lot of infrastructure that a lot of people use. And that's not good. Kind of like Lightning hubs in a way, like with the Lightning Network. That's not as ideal, I don't think. And the other thing is Tachyon would make it so that all the information needed to reconstruct your transactions will no longer be all on the blockchain, all in your private keys. So right now, I got my 12 words, my 24 words, whatever it is. I put it into a wallet and I got everything I need. With Tachyon, that you would have to have that and an ongoing backup of your encrypted note state or something like that. Analogous to a channel state in Lightning. So you'd have to have some separate backup that's not just a one-time 12 words or 24 words. You'd have to have an updated backup that either you store yourself or you put on a cloud somewhere, like a Google Cloud thing or something like that, and then it all kind of works together. So basically, there's two different ways of doing this. There's that way and there's the Dash way. And there's a lot of unanswered questions on both. Let's be super clear about that. But I kind of feel like what Dash has managed to do can scale to mass levels without making these trade-offs that it seems like Tachyon's making. And that could be something huge. And the thing is, from my understanding, also, again, this is just stuff I've heard. I hang out with a lot of the Zcash devs. I was, at the Ironwood release party last week and stuff. Is a great thing. It's really brilliant people. Love those people. They, as far as I'm aware, they're going to keep the Tachyon pool as optional once it's released. So if you want the full Zcash, it's only in my hands stuff. You can still do it. It'll just, your wallet will sync slower and whatever else. But like if you want the mainline experience, you can do that. So hopefully, I'd like to think that the Dash version works the best, in which case you try out Tachyon and it works, but you don't like the trade-offs. You can just build a Dash version, the Dash style thing, feed that technology back in free open source, right? Feed that back into Zcash. So then Zcash is like, you know what? I think a Dash style pool would make more sense now that it's been debuted. We can try that out. The thing that makes that challenging, though, is that Dash has this it's one of those hardest things to describe to people who aren't developers, especially crypto developers who are heavy into databases. But it has this structured data system where you can store data that's indexed, and you can call up those indexes and subtrees, etc., with a cryptographic proof that you got what you asked for, instantly. And so that's part of the reason why you could sync a full wallet in 20 seconds or so, is because you know exactly where to look for. Just go look at these indices, go. Here's all your transactions. As opposed to the current way, like a linear blockchain scales, where you have to say, all right, here's the blockchain, scan from the very first block ever, all the way up, one after another, to the most recent block ever, and see if any of those contain your wallet's transactions, your encrypted notes. And then that's why you're there all day. And so because of this data structure stuff, that is what allows you to make a decentralized Twitter on Dash that doesn't have a backend server or anything. That kind of stuff is what enables this. And so you'd have to replicate that whole system on a different blockchain. And here's another idea. What you could do is just store the encrypted backups for Tachyon, like the Tachyon encrypted ongoing backups. You could store them on encrypted, of course, on the Dash blockchain. And so then you could get 20-second, or immediate sync without having to keep a separate backup. But you just have to say, oh, I'm using 2 blockchains here. But 1 seed, two blockchains. So hopefully that went enough details of how this stuff works a little bit. Again, our good friend Vinny Barbosa wrote a more technical deep dive on the Dash privacy, the Dash version of Orchard. Highly recommend people read that. He's coming out with more fun stuff too.
Yeah, and if you guys want to go ahead, Denny.
No, just shouting out Vinny. Vinny's a good guy.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to say this publicly because I want certain people to hear. I think Vinny is great. So I'll chime in on that too. But yeah, I mean, like, I kind of had a question just to clarify between Tachyon's technology versus Dash, right? So everything there, it's still encrypted, but you have to store it in the cloud. But with Dash, to keep it that it's still private and you still have it, like, I'm still a little bit confused on where I'm supposed to be, where I would be looking for it with Dash. I mean, like, it's not connected to, like, AWS servers or anything like that. I'm just trying to I'm not sure, so.
Yeah, so you'd be looking on the Dash network, on the Dash blockchain itself. That it just, the way the data is stored is a way that you can call it up pretty quickly. So, for example, let me give a couple different examples, right? First, about the ongoing backups. The Lightning Network. When you have a Lightning Network wallet, node, whatever, you need 2 backups. One are the cryptographic keys that hold your wallet, just like any other crypto, your 12 words or 24 words, whatever. You need those. But the other thing is, every time you send and receive anything in Lightning, that updates the state of your payment channels. You have a different state of affairs going on there. And if you just restore with an old state, you could lose funds because that's now an invalid state, and there you go. So what you have to do is, every time there's a new Lightning payment, your storage file increments, and then you have to store that somewhere, and you need to put those 2 together, and you get everything back. So that's how Tachyon, I guess, would work, is something very similar to that. This is my understanding. Now, as far as like storage and data, when you, let's just say I'm looking for my friends to add a friend on my DashPay wallet to send some money, and I'm looking at Red Alark, Denny, whatever. The only way I'd find you, I could literally enter your exact username. Be like, I know Denny is Patriot Sound. So I type in the entire thing and hit go, and there he is. But if I don't remember, was he Patriot? Was he Patriot Sounds with 3 Z's at the end? Like, what was it? That's when you need to query. You need to do a search. Now, search is typically not decentralized, right? Usually what you have to do is you have to have a service called an indexer that tags every little piece of data, like every username. And then when you start typing PATR, it's just like, it looks them up and it says, here are the options, these ones. That stuff is built into the Dash network. So when you start looking at a username on the Dash network, one PAT, and then there's like, it's going to pop up Patrick, Patricio, a bunch of other weird people, and then Patriot Sounds is going to be on that list too. I'm like, oh, it looked it up. I didn't have to trust a company or another service to tag all those things. I just asked the Dash network itself and said, which PATs are there? And it goes, these ones. And then I just picked it. So that's sort of how it works. The data is out there and it's indexed in this complex system. There's if you really want to nerd out on it, there's a website called grovedb.org, a Grove database. and it's something that's built by the Dash developers, and that is it's kind of the it's the underpinning of all this stuff. Let me just leave that as a comment under the stream as well. But it's basically it's the first database to support cryptographic proofs for complex queries. And as the query proofs, secondary indices, mutable and immutable data storage, all this other stuff. And so, I mean, again, that's like database nerd stuff. But the point is, all the stuff as far as when you're using zero knowledge crypto, like Zcash, like Dash, you have encrypted notes, these little pieces of data that are encrypted, and you have to decrypt those to see, oh, these are my transactions, basically. And so where these are stored in the blockchain, in the history, is all just added. So you basically decrypt. Again, this is my understanding. I might get a little bit wrong on some of this stuff because I'm not super deep in all this. But as far as I'm aware, you could just decrypt your note cluster, and it just says, here's all the rest of them. Now you just mass decrypt them all. It's just like, instead of going an Easter egg hunt around the house, you decrypt a map that says where all your Easter eggs are. And so, oh, now you just go and collect them, as opposed to, oh, I found one, let me look around, or oh, I found another. That's kind of the old school way. This thing is just like you decrypt a map and they're like, there you go. So yeah, it all comes out, and it hopefully works a lot better, or at least it works well for people.
Danny.
I love it. Well, I can't speak when your mic is unmuted.
Oh, sorry.
So
let me
he's so patient.
You're so nice. Thank you, Danny.
You're very welcome. Well, I love it, Joel. I love what you're doing. The indexer being on the chain is really cool. I mean, you're making it all in house. That's what you need to do. I'd like to ask you, if there's someone watching this live right now, or they see a recording of this, they're interested in Dash, they want to get involved. Maybe they've got an Android, they got an iPhone, something like this. Could you direct them? Like, what are the first steps they can take to get involved in Dash?
Yeah. So when you have a decentralized network with a bunch of stuff you can do, the answers to that could be all over the map. But the easiest thing is if you get the Dash Pay wallet, it's Android, iOS, you go dash.org/downloads or whatever. Pretty soon, meaning next couple of weeks, you'll have like the privacy features built in there. But it can kind of do a bunch of stuff. First of all, you can receive or send to any crypto via a couple of dexes, the best of which is currently the Maya protocol, because you can send Dash instantly out to stuff. So for example, if I want to send via, let's just pick another crypto like Litecoin. I want to go Litecoin to Bitcoin. It's the Litecoin goes out to the DEX, and it waits a few confirmations to make sure it won't get rugged. And then the DEX does its little internal processes, and then the Bitcoin spits out. So that's going to be like 10 minutes, let's say. So you send Litecoin, and then 10 minutes later, poof, you have Bitcoin coming out the other end. With Dash, if you use Maya, it's 40 seconds flat, because the Dash part is like 2 seconds. You go there, it sees the instant lock on the transaction, which is Dash's special function that's, last 12 years been making sure every Dash transaction is instant. And then the rest of the process finishes. So by 40 seconds later, your Bitcoin's outgoing. So that's like real time. That's like you can send it to like pay you back at dinner or something. Or you can buy, if the merchant is slow enough, like if you're at a coffee shop and you're the only one in line, you can do it there. If you're not, just tell them to take Dash directly. So you can go anything to Dash, Dash to anything on decentralized rails. We have Maya protocol and the near intents are the two dexes that work for that so far. We can get Thorchain in there as soon as Thorchain decides to add Dash. So that's 3. And then it's the 3 great dexes. You can do anything you want there. There's also a spend feature, which right now is more useful for US persons, because a lot of the spending options are US merchants right now, but we're folding in more. But basically, you could go to say you go to a Starbucks, and it's like, okay, you get a crazy fancy latte and a thing, so it's going to run you like $20. It's always way too much. So $22.79. You go to your spend app, hit you go into the Dash wallet, go to hit Starbucks, hit $27.79, hit buy, and then it will generate a barcode, and you turn that barcode around, they scan it, and then you've paid at Starbucks. Back end, what it does is you're buying an instant gift card for the exact amount, but because Dash is instant, the gift card shows up immediately. And so you can do that in a real in-person environment. So you can also get some pretty good discounts. Like I bought a bunch of stuff on Amazon today, 2.5% off. So that's pretty good savings for Amazon stuff. The most I ever saved was I bought a Domino's pizza after my sister-in-law's wedding because it's late at night and you need some late night wedding pizza. And it was 13.5% off, which is pretty cool. So, I mean, of course, you do have to eat Domino's, but that's a different story. So those are the two biggest features in the wallet. You can also register a username, and then you can look at other usernames like mine, the Desert Link. So you can friend me, and I'll send you some money. And not too much, though. Don't get crazy, Joe. I see the beggar in the comments there. So you can do that. And then also, if you are a fiated person, if you have a bank and all the other stuff, under the buy option, there's a company called Topper. It's an on-ramp, and you can set a recurring Dash buy every week, every 2 weeks, every month, and then you just set it and it'll charge your card or whatever you can do Venmo as well. I think you can do a few other things, but you'll pay frequently, and then so now you get like a basic income in Dash where now you can start to spend it on things and just learn before you go all in and this is all you earn. So that's a very useful thing to have for people that want to go get started like that. And I'm sure I must be missing some other fun stuff. One of the things is, I think it might be hidden in the settings somewhere, but you can do an encrypted backup of all your private notes. So when you buy something on, like I send Denny some money or whatever, and then I put in the notes, pay back for the strip club last weekend or whatever. I put that into the note. That note gets sent to the Dash chain encrypted, thankfully, because you think I'm joking. There may or may not be a Dash fan who's going to spend Dash at a strip club in the coming few weeks or so. It might happen. I'm just saying, it's for sure as hell not going to be me, but there will someone who is into that stuff is doing that. But anyway, the point is all your things can be encrypted in private, but also like recorded. So usually if you have a crypto wallet and you lose everything and you restore it, you get your crypto back. So your transaction history says address to this amount to this amount, and that's all. What was this for? And I've had this happen in the past where I bought stuff from a farmer's market and I couldn't remember if I paid the lady that month or not. Did I pay you? I'm looking through my balance history and there's a couple of payments that are this similar size, but I'm like, what was the exchange rate when that happened? I don't even remember. So I literally had to ask her, hey lady, did I pay you yet? So, however, now that's not a problem anymore, because not only if you restore your wallet, all the stuff goes with it, your entire accounting. This was for this much. This was the fiat value when you made the payment. This was what it was for. This is your note. All that's on the actual Dash network. So there you have it. That's what I would say. That's how you get started. You should probably follow myself, the Desert Links, as well as @DashPay on X, and just see the stuff coming out. It's a lot of fun, and hit us up for whatever you want to do. Maybe you're like, oh, I'm in Nigeria. I don't know this. I can't spend anywhere around there. It's like, well, then you'd have to use the Eon Pay Telegram app, and you can pay for stuff in Nigeria here, but you have to preload it with Dash. We're going to get in the wallet eventually, but right now you have to do this. I'd have to kind of tell you more specific things about how to do it, but that's kind of the quick little rundown there.
I think it's clear is like no matter who is listening to this, it's obvious that Dash is very sophisticated and very mature, right? And it's constantly been iterating since the entire long history. I mean, if you look on CoinMarketCap when you select all for the price action and you see it going back to 2015, like that's a huge flex in the crypto industry for having an asset that's lasted that long, right? Like that's really incredible. And so guys, please, if you thinking about Dash, you need to do it because it's just absolutely, you cannot ask for a better guy at the helm. Mr. Joel here, guys, the dude is a legend. I think, man, you honestly, like when it comes to, being your own bank, is there anyone who tops you? Like, I don't want you to be narcissistic here or anything, but you know, like dude, you're like OG. Like, I'm just saying.
Well,
People do it, like other people do it, but they don't talk to other people about it, right? That's a hard thing.
That's the biggest thing, right? Is a lot of people, there's a lot of sketchy mofos that live on bank. I know a few people that do. The thing is, I also have at least one friend who doesn't have a birth certificate and doesn't exist, so therefore he has to live this way. I do it as a fun little luxury, and if I decided I'm tired of this is stressing every time I travel overseas with my sketchy money setup, and at least I have a Coinbase card now, which works like a normal card in a lot of ways, so she feels better about it. I can do that because I could KYC with Coinbase. Some people can't, so there's more hardcore people out there. There are I don't know if he's still, I think Amir Taki was mostly living unbanked or off crypto, but he's more hardcore than me in a lot of ways, because when he's living in the UK and the ISIS conflict stuff happened in the Middle East, and he just like left and joined the resistance, the armed resistance, with no military training when he didn't have to. And he got detained when he went back to the UK because they're like, did you just go join a terrorist group? And he's like, well, counter-terrorist, really, but no, all right. So that guy's got balls that I don't have, is my point. There are a lot of other people that inspired me when I've heard about them and stuff, and I've tried to do the same, and then I just don't hear from them because they just are off being sketchy and weird somewhere, and like I'm still being like, oh, here I am with my face and my name doing all this stuff while I'm LARPing as a cypherpunk kind of thing. I guess I'm not LARPing, but I am like, it's not necessary that I live this way.
Why do you say that you're LARPing? You're literally a legend.
Well, but it's sort of like by choice, and I'm also talking about it a bunch. It's like, you know, it's funny how many of people in the privacy community won't shut the hell up. Like, it's kind of the opposite of like how many people tell you about all the stuff they do with Monero on Twitter every single day. And it's just like, well, I thought it was private. It's like, well, so yeah, I mean, I'm kind of like that too. I'm just like, I bought all this stuff with my private money. Look what I bought with my private money. It's like, okay, well, maybe my speech on that money is not that private, but whatever.
Yeah, that's great.
But that doesn't answer my question. Why do you think you are LARPing? Because I don't think you are.
Well, it depends. It's just like, are you the guy? I'm the guy that shows up to all the gyms and trains with the UFC fighters and not pretends, but like trains with all the badasses. Like, yeah, man, I'm like tough and nice, whatever. But then I don't go out in the ring and get the crap kicked out of me. You know, I'm the guy who's like, I'm a tourist, right? So it's kind of like, it's like people saying like, oh yeah, man, I live in Thailand. It's like, do you? Well, you do, but you'd live in there for a few years. But are you from the streets? Did you grow up in poverty? Like all that stuff? Like, not really. You're sort of glamping, you know. So I would say I'm glamping in the cypherpunk territory. I am out there. I am out there in the mountaintops, like starting a fire and chopping stuff. But I'm like, you know, I came from the city with like all this stuff, you know. So I'm like, you know, kind of real, but you know, I like a glamping more than LARPing, right? Because I'm definitely not LARPing, but I am glamping.
Yeah, exactly.
I
wanted to be kind of like clear about that, because like
I'm gonna register that name on the Dash blockchain. Crypto Glamper.
Dude,
100%.
Yeah, I know some of our friends have been to jail, and it's like, it's nice to be like, oh my God, they're heroic, and they are, but they shouldn't have had to go through that in the first place. You know, I'm glad that they've stood up for their principles. I mean, like, they're great people, but I also have had conversations with people about saying, yes, and it's great to burn it all down and live free or die. And I'm not saying that none of that is true. I mean, you guys say that's on the license plate in New Hampshire, but it's also important to be strategic about some of these decisions. And that's where, you know, privacy does help with freedom. I mean, I did an episode couple months ago just about the history of cryptography and how it's been used in times of war and everything else. But like, just because you haven't gone to jail, that doesn't mean you're not fighting the good fight. And what did you just say? Literally a month ago, be someplace where you can win. When I see photos and videos of you at all of these conferences talking to all these people and you're smiling, you're not just spreading the good word of Dash, you're spreading the good energy of Dash, and you're going in places where you're going to be well received. You're putting yourself in places like New Hampshire where you can win. So I don't think that you should ever have to feel anything less than. And or just with anything where people have had to go through horrific things that they shouldn't have to go to. I mean, like, we all have immigrant friends that came to America and they slept on the floor, and and it took forever and ever in some cases for them to become legalized citizens, but they shouldn't have to go through that. Just like you shouldn't have to feel like, oh my God, you stood in front of a bullet today, and if you didn't, you're not a real cypherpunk. You're one of my biggest heroes. Didn't you know that?
Well, that's very nice to say. Denny's one of my biggest heroes.
I know Denny's great, but carry on. I'm gonna mute so Denny doesn't get mad at me.
Yeah.
No, well, but it's true. Like, the thing is, kind of like my position is more like the daywalker in a way, where it's kind of like the go-between between certain people and certain people, and like the people that like the real mofos are like hardcore, and all that stuff that they do, all the awesome tech they build, but also all the awesome hardcore super cypherpunk private whatever living stuff that they do doesn't make it back to the average person or a lot of the developers of more mainstream type crypto tech. So they're there doing their thing. They're there doing the thing, and they don't speak to each other. So I'm the guy that goes and sort of like, it's funny seeing Joe sing that's fucked up. It's like, yeah, well, I'm like the guy who's like, I'm like the Peace Corps person living in the village. That's like, I don't act like I'm not from the village, but I'm there to like live like that. So I'm like, I'm like Avatar. I'm just like living like the crazy blue people. So I can like transmit that and say, no, they're peaceful over here. So that's kind of what I'm doing in terms of like living like crazy people that I don't have to live like. They live it because they have to. I do it because I choose to, and they learn from it. And then I go this way and tell them this works, this doesn't, do it this way. Or then also I try to take the normies into the woods with me. Hey, little child, you want to go on a camping trip with me? That's kind of what I do, is I try to get the normal people. No, the woods are fine. Come on over here, and just try to take them further into the wilderness of freedom, as it were. So that's kind of the thing, is like, sometimes you have to be like an ambassador to things. And so I'm trying to be like the go-between, but also like, I didn't realize this until the last couple years, really. But like, two things. One, I have a lot of inertia. Like, I've been living this way for a while, so it would be annoying and painful to try to like learn how to be a banked person again. So it's like, well, this is how I live my life right now. So it'd actually I'm kind of stuck. But then also, this is so good for like Twitter arguments. Like, there's so many people that say so many dumb things. And it's just like, it's kind of like some people say like, I have more money than you. Okay, shut up, or whatever. Like that kind of thing. It helps to be able to tell people, because no one else who's online. Like, but this one, no one who's online is living this stuff. So when they say something dumb to me, I can just say, you're not about that life. And out of 100, 200 times, I'll get one or two that are like, well, yes, I am. And then I'm just like, did we just become best friends? Yep. Then it becomes like, oh, I'm not arguing with you anymore. Now it's like, no, this is actually awesome. So, but it is very useful to be like, because no one does this, right? So therefore, if you do, you get to have something over everyone. you get to be like, well, you're the. It's kind of like the New Hampshire superiority complex. It's like who has no state sales tax, no state income tax, no motorcycle helmet law, no seatbelt law, no, freest state in the nation by like who is like number one, where anyone says like, oh well, I don't like the property tax. You're like, bitch. It's like kind of that thing too. So anyway.
We don't have the helmet thing in Arizona, but tell me about the seatbelt. Anyone can ride around without a seatbelt. Children too? Is that how it is?
I think children like under 18, you have to wear a seatbelt, but after that, you can't. I think it's the only state in the country that has that for adults.
You know what's the dumbest thing? The dumbest thing in the world is when a motorcycle cop pulls you over for not wearing your seatbelt. I just hate living in a dumb world. You know what I mean? Just like, what is even happening right now? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So stupid. I'm going to go to nature.
Sorry. I mean, I'm not sorry because I'm American, but carry on, Denny.
Of course. Oh, I'm done. I'm done.
Are you, though? With the motorcycle talk? I mean, like, that's actually very ironic. Has that happened to you? Because, like, obviously you brought that up for a reason.
It's happened to someone I know.
Okay.
I'm not sure there are motorcycle cops around here, but yeah. The point is, like, also sometimes you have to be the Overton window person, where you have to be all the way doing this stuff, so then other people will get, well, this guy's not that bright and he's figuring this out, so I can do not a lot of effort and get here. And then they're just like, all right, and then that just seems accessible. Like, you just do this thing. Like, I kind of feel like the funny thing to me is, like, I talk to people all the time on Spaces, on things, just randomly. And they just say, like, really, you live in crypto? And the next follow-up question, like, how do you pay for things? How do you buy this? Like, how do you do groceries, dude? And, like, it's not that hard to figure out in 2026, but no one's tried, or few people have tried. Like, no one, because there's a lot of stuff like, I don't know how I'm going to do this country. I go travel. Where am I going to pay for things? And I have to do some digging, some good old, like, looking stuff up. It's like, they can do that too. Like, in fact, let me, someone filibuster for me while I go and see if this makes a point or not. But I'm going to try to hit up Grok and see what Grok says as far as ask me a normie dumb question about spending crypto. Like how do you do what? What is the
how do I send crypto to my wallet from a centralized exchange? No, dumb.
Nah, that's a little too like, I mean, like, how do you live on crypto? It's like, what is it? The big one that comes? Is it groceries? Is it rent? Like, what are the big things?
Rent. Let's do rent.
Let's see.
I would say.
Do you pay rent with cryptocurrencies? Let's see
what
Grok.
As he looks this up, you guys, I would encourage you to try the technology, because let me tell you, I don't think anyone who's watching this, you believe in fiat currency, you believe in dollars or anything like that. Get some freaking experience with this stuff, because you will be very, very useful when things go upside down. I think it's guaranteed to happen. Has Grok given you an answer yet, sir? Because I can continue to filibuster.
No, but I'm seeing the posts that it's coming up with, the sources as it's thinking, and I recognize some of the things I've used to pay rent in that list. So I know it's at least looking at the stuff that I would do. It says, let's see, the most practical is either involve the landlord accepts it directly, or far more commonly use intermediary services to convert your crypto to fiat and deliver. I love how just calling it fiat, like Grok knows what fiat is. Do normal bank transfer, ACH, or check to the landlord. So one is direct crypto payment if the landlord agrees. And so this has specific examples of certain managers and places. And it mentions some places that do actually take direct crypto for that. Conversion, bill pay services. One of these is, I didn't know Trust Link was a thing, but you can send these to self-custodial wallet and then receive a local bank transfer, global ACH. Ooh, actually, listen, I'm learning stuff today from Grok. I'm going to add that to my list. Spritz Finance, fantastic company. Spritz.finance/dash. Use it. Put in your info. All the bills that are in your name come up, including your credit card bills. You just pay them with Dash. Boom. So that one, I already knew that one because I onboarded them to Dash years ago when I saw a Brave browser ad that said live all in crypto. I'm like, click. And so anyway, Grok tells you that Bull Bitcoin is in Canada and support part of Mexico, etc. Pay anyone. BitPay has a crypto bill version. And so then it says 3 crypto debit cards. Load a Visa, MasterCard does this. And then it has some information. And so alternatives of none of the above work. Convert crypto to fiat on an exchange yourself, withdraw to your bank, and pay normally. So it's kind of, it's not like super like live on crypto ninja there, but it'll get you started. So if someone had the question, you know, how am I going to pay my rent? I want to start living on crypto. How do I do that? How do I pay my rent? Grok, how do I pay my rent? You already have enough to get started. So the point is, people don't even think that they could do it, so they don't try to do it.
Right.
Until then they see, oh yeah, and then that one guy I saw at some conference, and I saw, I don't live on crypto. And I'm like, well, that guy said it. Let me look into it now. And then they're like, oh, I can too. Let me go start doing that. You know, it's all it takes is just seeing some dude out there, some girl out there being like, pay for this in crypto. You're really? And then you just start thinking, oh, it's possible. It's just like humans are very social animals, and things are very abstract. And obviously, we're less abstract in that way than, or we are more open to abstract concepts, like something's this like encryption stuff. Like we would be the first person to use something like this, maybe the 3 of us, right? We'd be the first ones to like do something. But most people, like, I heard about OpenClaw and all this other like AI agent stuff, and I didn't touch the stuff because I just didn't have time up until I heard of a friend was like, oh yeah, what 2 things that hit me. One was the former, he's not at Edge anymore, one of the top Edge wallet developers. When I was hanging out with him in Mexico City, I saw him texting his agent saying, can you do this, change this? And he changed something in the Edge repo and pushed a fix that I discovered during the conference. It was there, then fixed the next day because of his little agent. He's typing from on his phone. I'm like, that's cool. I is it possible to learn this power? And then the other thing is my friend Keith Ammon, who is a New Hampshire legislator. He is the guy who got the first strategic reserve bill in the U.S. passed and did a bunch of other stuff. And he was like, dude, I got a Hermes agent running for me. Oh, it's awesome. It does everything. You should try it. And so I'm like, all right, now I got to do it. So because we heard of a couple people, real people that are doing these things, I'm like, I never thought I needed an agent. But now I have an agent. I have an agent up and running, and it's working pretty well. It's keeping my to-do lists and stuff.
Only
right
one? No, I'm kidding.
Only what? Well, when you ask like Grok stuff, it deploys a bunch of agents, and I have other stuff. But yes, the point is, at least I'm in that world now. And then I forget who was talking about, oh yeah, you should run local stuff, like local AI models, which I've been doing a lot of these days. I've been getting down in that rabbit hole. And I forget what it was. I think what happened was I saw, it was a Google or someone, there was a research paper called TurboQuant that got released that basically said, we found out how we can take the cache, the extra side data loaded by these models, and compress it significantly. So the amount of context you can get, like you can run the most powerful model your computer can take, and then you only get this much context. You can ask like one thing, and it just takes very little data, and that's it. And it's not very smart. So you can do this much cache, but just compress this much context, but compress it. And I'm like, so you mean I could run a decent model on my computer? And then it said, oh, by the way, this research paper came out 2 days ago, and people using AI built a working implementation that's already out. I'm like, I can, I am AI and you can too, right? I can do this myself. And then that's what got me in the door. It's just that like, ooh, this is real. This is achievable. And so I think that like, just like some people say that if you're from a certain disadvantaged community, it's really helpful to have someone in your community succeed. So you're like, that guy looks like me and he did it. I think I can get out of poverty too. I think I can go achieve this stuff. And so we're all kind of in poverty here. We're in freedom poverty. And if you see one mofo get out of freedom poverty, And you're like, well, that I know that guy. He's not like floating above stuff. He's like a dude who does stuff. We drink together. I hear the weird stuff he says, and I'm like, so he got out, so I could get out. Let me try to get out.
I love it. I love it. I have a moral conundrum.
Yes.
Oh, let's go.
So yeah. So as I have income from real estate, right? And a property management company. I love them. They do a great job. They're not ready to do crypto stuff yet. So, okay. I could get another property management company, but they're so good that I love them, and I just can't because they've just been so fantastic. So I have a source of income, and then I have Dash as well. And I love my Dash more than I love my fiat, right? So I want to hold on to my Dash because I believe in it, right? And I hate my fiat, so I just want to get rid of it because I know the purchasing power of fiat is just going away and away and away and away. So been experimenting with Dash, but I think I'm gonna be ready to be a full convert. But as long as I have this icky fiat coming in, I just want to get rid of it. And so because I love my Dash so much, I hoard it like a hoarder. And maybe that's wrong of me. But
No, I mean, this is what they call Gresham's law, which is the good money. They say the bad money chases out the good, but I hate that description of it. I think what it should say is bad money circulates before good money, I think is a better way of saying it. Because also, if it's good money, it will win. Otherwise, it's bad money. So if bad money wins, it's good money, kind of. So I don't like the old framing of it. But the point is, if I have bunch of Dash in this hand, and then I have a same value in paper fiat in this hand, and then in this hand I have the same value in a Whole Foods gift card. Which am I spending first? Obviously the Whole Foods gift card, because I can do one thing with it, right? I can spend it at Whole Foods. I'm getting rid of that one first. But then in the middle, okay, we get the fiat. I could do anything with it, but I can't do online payments. I can't stuff it in my USB port and do stuff. So like it's paper fiat. So I'm going to spend that one next because it's less useful. And also it goes down in value. Whereas my Dash, I can stake with it. I can do, it's historically gone way better than fiat. I mean, the first Dash I ever got, I earned was at $7 a Dash. It's several times that today, even though today's not the highest it's ever been. So then I kind of go in that direction. But that only takes care of spending. It doesn't take care of earning and saving. So now, are you going to be like, well, I get rid of the Whole Foods gift card first, so it's bad money. It chases out the good, and by the end of the year, homies only got Whole Foods gift cards. No, that's ridiculous. No one's just going to be hoarding this. I don't like this as much because it only works at one goddamn store, but that's all I'm going to get now. Like, no, you're going to get the best money, and then there you go. So I guess the question, the thing in that is you've got to find a way to stop getting bad money, only get good money. And there are fun ways of doing that. So we'll have to talk. I mean, your private financial arrangements are not the world's business. Again, privacy is good.
No, but
so
here's the thing.
I would be interested.
Sorry,
I would be interested in talking about how you receive your filthy dirty fiat. Like, what are the ways in which you do it? Maybe there's some ways we can figure out how you get better money out of it, or at least partially or something.
I'm down to talk about it later. Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
Love it. Red, we're gonna say something.
I mean, he kind of, elaborated a bit to the point where I don't know if I need to say like a whole lot, but like when we talk about good money versus bad money, I don't really ever think it's that black and white, because there's certain companies where you have certain benefits, so you're going to absolutely use it. But I mean, are they squeaky clean? Do they have is there nothing shady that company did? Probably they did. But like for me, when it comes to money, it's kind of like, well, does the good outweigh the bad? I mean, because there are people that want to demonize the act of making money itself, which is absolutely ridiculous, because money is not it's not the root of all evil. It's greed, right? And a lot of times, sometimes people use money in that way, but like, but that's not the point. But I don't think it's ever completely good or it's completely bad. Like, a lot of people like to shit on people who are billionaires and say stuff like, well, there's no ethical billionaire. And I'll be like, bitch, let me just take it back a second. There's no such thing as a 100% ethical consumer, because we have to survive. But I think there is such a thing as making choices with better money versus money that's like so corrupt that you don't, in some cases, you shouldn't even be touching it at all. I mean, depending on the circumstance. But like, to me, Denny, you've always been somebody that has wanted to touch the most, ethical money possible. But like, but I feel like just in general, we've gotten to a point where pretty much everyone just feels like fiat is dirty. Well, maybe it is dirty, but like, isn't the only way really to get people incentivized to use, Dash, to use Orchard, to use all these things. And ThorChain, I know we'll have to do a special ThorChain for you sometime, Denny, to just show them the benefits. Because if you give them incentives, if you give them benefits, of course they would use fiat. And going back to a little bit something Joelle said earlier, like, yeah, it actually does matter to see real people doing the things that you want to do. And I applaud that 120%. But like, I'm going to be real with y'all. Sometimes you, Denny, or sometimes you, Joelle, are the one that needs to set the example for everybody else. You're the one that people, because you even have said yourself, people have come up to you and said stuff like, oh, well, because of you, I don't have a bank anymore.
That's
right?
really cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, unless I misinterpreted or I said something wrong there, like in terms of I didn't get it right.
No, I remember Joel saying that. Like, people come up and say, "Hey, you're the reason why I live the way that I do." I think it's awesome.
And like, I've always felt like awkward about people saying nice things about me, but at the same time, this is not about me. This is about what I care about, which is other people, like, throwing free the shackles of fiat in the banking system. And that makes me really happy. And I will never not celebrate that. So like, that's my scoreboard in terms of like, it's just like, am I loving every moment of my life? Am I healthy? Does my family like me? Do I have little snuggly kitties that love me? Do I have like whatever stuff, like the important stuff? And then this, other than that, this is the scoreboard. This is like how many people have done, like, if someone's like, oh my gosh, I saw that you talked about this stuff. I bought a bunch of Dash at $28 and then it went up to 35 and I sold it and I profited. Thanks, man. I'd be like, hey, okay, you're welcome, I guess. Can I have a tip? Like, but like, it's all right. But like, if someone's like, oh dude, I knew a dude who ran still know him. I guess I should give him a message, because he's one of those, again, people who are interested in the stuff I'm interested in, like to be sketchy and just drop off grid and stuff. He ran one of the top Hollywood animation studios, and he had some banking issues, like the government always doing sketchy stuff. And he saw some video I did with Naomi Brockwell, and he was like, I'm going to close my bank account too. So he did. And with a much larger company that he also ran only on crypto, much bigger risk than I've taken. I was like a pauper running around like, you might convert my $1,200 to crypto. Wow, what a risk! But like, this guy converted a lot of stuff and bigger balls than me, right? And started doing this stuff, and I'm like, ooh, that's actually really cool. And he started writing about it, and unfortunately, he was a little bit too on the Bitcoin side for a while, and then that's only a recipe for heartache long term. But I mean, he's doing the stuff. And other people hopefully getting inspired too. There's some random Zcash guy who said he also did that. There's a couple of other people, but the thing is, like, I've always been like, I don't care to be famous, but maybe I kind of have to be a little bit more, because there isn't like I don't know what you call whoever the big influences are out there. There's not a big one like that who's like the unbanked crypto guy. There isn't someone. So I guess there has to be, right? Maybe who wants to drop me another couple 100,000 followers on X?
I love it. Yeah, man. We gotta get you more famous.
But we'll get there. I mean, somebody made a Van Gogh-esque sort of painting of you, I saw, because I guess they see you in that light.
I looked so greasy in that picture.
I know. I thought you looked
to
cool.
the max.
No, I thought you looked really cool. I mean, and on the subject of fame, I think it's kind of a little bit related to Dash to Orchard to any time you're trying to like spread an idea, a business, or whatever. I mean, yeah, I think that fame has become a weird thing that people have a weird relationship, and that's unfortunate. But I mean, I guess that is what it is. It's just, I mean, like, I guess this is like a whole thing, but the point is that if you don't get the word out there about how you're living your life in a better way, not living with fiat, you are that guy. It's like, well, how will other people then, in your community or other communities and even poor communities or whatever, how will they be able to get inspired by you if they don't know who you are, if they don't know your story, that you grew up in Mexico? I mean, like, I know we're here talking about privacy and obviously, it's a human right, but there's still part of the reason why we're talking about privacy is because we want publicly for people to know that they have the right to do this, that they can live in a different way. We have to talk about our struggles to a point publicly in order to reach people, in order to move people, in order to get them to change their life, in order for them to try that new thing. And as long as, and I know you are, and I know you will, but this is what I want you to feel good about, the fact that as long as you are using your influence just to help people, you never need to feel guilty about that. You should only feel good about the fact that you're using your influence to better people's lives. I mean, Jenny, you are very active in helping people in your community in Arizona all the time, and I'm pretty sure a lot of it is because of stuff you've learned from Joelle. Am I not wrong?
So yeah, I mean, yeah, I do a lot. Now I'm strictly like almost pure crypto now. I was pretty involved locally for about 4 years, for sure. Then I determined that there was no political solution that I could ascertain, and that's why I think what we're doing here is the biggest hope. But just to speak a little bit on what you're saying on Red is, I think one of the thing is with fame, you see it in a lot of people. It becomes pathological. They get weird, right? They get narcissistic. Their social skills get really entitled. And I'm not famous, guys. I'm not. But now that I do like a lot of podcasts and stuff, I'll go to a conference and people come up to, it's the voice. Like they'll hear me talking somewhere else. Oh, it's the voice, and then they'll come over. Hey, Denny. Well, and,
it's funny.
Yeah.
The guy who co-hosts the Zipto Spaces every Wednesday morning, he goes by The Voice or The Voice of DeFi. And he has one of those old school radio show voices, very nice and smooth and buttery.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go with the giveaway. It's kind of like all that way. Oh, it's Empress. How's it going, Empress? I was just on her space
Empress.
3 hours before this one. So it was like a long space. So I just jumped right off, ate dinner, and came right
Well, you
back
mean
in.
there's short spaces on Twitter?
I mean, an hour and a half. I mean, 2 hours. How long was it? 2 hours almost? Yeah.
It was a long one. I listened to it. It was a great one. You guys did a great job. Shout out to Empress. She was awesome.
Shout out Empress. I left you alone in LA in Orange County. I moved to. I'm a Seattleite now, but maybe I'll see you when I go back to California at some point. Probably, but like, what's up, Empress? And Joe's been kind of chatting this whole time, but like, Denny, you were already kind of like on an interesting kick, and I hope I didn't like break your train of thought too much. The guy with the voice, because your voice brings in my head too. Yeah, the conferences. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just someone's got to get out in public and do this stuff, right? If you didn't do it, if we didn't do it, you can't motivate people to do these things. This is, for me, like going on podcasts and spaces and stuff. It's kind of always been, it became like an emergent thing. I never sought out to do that, but like we've had some pretty spicy moments in Thorchain, some pretty hard moments. And I've just been that person to be like, hey guys, like it's gonna be okay. We're gonna figure it out. Blah blah blah. And you know, I've done emergency spaces more than once, and they've been pretty helpful. And so like me like talking and doing the podcast is an emergent thing, right? So just kind of elevated to this a little bit. But I think about that a lot, Joel. I understand like what you're saying, because you don't want your personality to be, you don't want to be, it doesn't want to be pathological. I'll just use that word again, where you know you have a mission. It's good to be autistic about this. I have a mission. I would say laser focused on that as much as I can, and don't at all think that I'm a grandiose person or that I have some special privilege or knowledge. I'm just a regular person who happens to be on camera talking to regular people. And I think if you maintain that frame, then you're going to be okay. Because you see famous people, and they're freaking bizarre, dude. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and I think there's now a divergence in social, like, in our culture, where I think a lot of Hollywood types are, ever since COVID, right, where they were like got their camera, they started singing with their little mask, and it was just really weird, you know, shit like that. I think now there's like a healthy bifurcation in society between like Hollywood types and like ordinary people, like rising up, you know, and becoming more famous or well known or whatever. So I think it's good. So keep going, Joel, and I want you like with millions and millions of followers. So I'll try and make that happen, man.
Well, I'd say I'd want as many as are necessary to kind of do that. Like, it's funny because, well, yeah, if that's what it takes. The thing is, like, it is funny because the way things kind of work, you never always get to decide what you're doing. There's a couple things. You mentioned, Danny, you're a regular guy, and I think obviously you're a very extraordinary guy, but also you're correct that we're regular people. When, at least when I got into crypto back in my day of like 2012, 2013, there was no crypto industry. This was new. Like, there's this obviously computer science nerd dude, probably Satoshi Nakamoto, who created this stuff and then cranked out some code, and then it started working. And then like a couple years later, I'm there trying to use it amongst other people. And so crypto expert, yeah, but there were no university degrees or studies or anything in this field. There's no like expertise certification, anything. It's just, you're just like roughing it out, because part of it is that, like, you know, I grew up in the space. I grew up with the space. The space became a thing. You know, we were using this since day one. Like, who knows how to use this stuff? Who knows why it works, how it works? Who knows? Like, for example, how many people have 10 years of DAO experience of like using a decentralized autonomous organization and governance and participation on all levels of that? Like, I mean, there's me, and I know like a few dozen others that are doing that for the whole time, but like that is now like something you can publish like not an academic paper on, like do some like research and stuff, or at least a memoir or something. And it's just like, there's something when becoming an expert or whatever in someone is just like a 1 foot in front of the other type of a thing for anyone. And the thing is, I do have I do have some academic stuff, like master's degree, international stuff, whatever. But that stuff, well, it's very useful to who I am as a person. My general knowledge is not at all useful to anything I do on a daily basis. And so, like, having been through academia, it's nice, but it doesn't teach you shit. It's like it's nothing. So, like, people who are nobody are the biggest somebodies, I think. And so all my favorite somebodies are nobodies. That's the thing, is I find there are things go in like two different directions with, like, say, influencers or people from like the normies, like crypto influencers especially. And I'm sure we all know plenty of those, and we all are some of those ourselves in some way. Goes two ways. It's either just nice, humble, normal people who just happen to be into this and just do it, which I would say it's everyone here. And then there's people who are also nobodies, but feel it and hate it and just get an attitude on their shoulders and just like, they try to somebodyify themselves way too much. And it's like, well, none of us are anybody. We're just people who are doing this fun stuff. Some of us are better at communicating than others. Some of us just have more followers than others. Some of us, you know, are prettier than others. However it works out, just the way it is. But some people are like this is one of those funny things. I'll just mention at the end of the day, like part of the when you think about having humility, I think that you need to have humility because lack of it is dangerous for obviously yourself, but for people around you. And that's one of those things why like I keep trying to like brush off the, you know, like there's anything special about me specifically. It's just the stuff like I do stuff, and then if you can replicate those things, that's what matters. It's just there's so much in the space where people lost $120 million this last week because they trusted a bunch of scammy fucking influencers. That's literally what happened. People like me out there going, hey guys, but like instead of the people that were just like propping themselves up as experts, being like, ooh, I'm this, and you know, I recommend this and all that stuff. And then all these people, again, I know some of these people personally, so I don't want to like cast too much shade on like everyone blanketly, but every single one of these were Bitcoin maximalist influencers who just said, look, trust us, this is the only way. Not, I have this experience, this shows me I like this stuff, but do what works for you. The point is freedom. I know stuff about freedom. If you know better than me, by all means do it. But this maxi arrogance, because like just during the course, like I have 4 tabs open, by the way, right now that are all new crypto bill pay solutions. I did not know until I asked Grok like 20 minutes ago, and now I'm just like, ooh, all this stuff that I didn't know. I knew nothing, and now on my subject matter expertise area, by the way, I knew nothing. Now I'm going to learn some stuff. I'm excited to learn the new stuff. And some of these are like stablecoin only things, and that's going to be, you know, no, well, it doesn't support Dash, so I don't like it. Like, no, I'm still going to tell everyone because this is cool. Anyway, people got recommended. People got recommended these wallets because, oh, this guy's a toxic maximalist, and he made the UX all gross, and you could see the circuit board on the inside, so it looks all rough and it's like so complicated to use, and like, oh, just so this is good stuff, man. And so like you had everyone, and like the one I'll because they're just a bunch of dumb scammy people, but there's this Alex Gladstein dude of the Human Rights Foundation. I don't know what his story was, and I'm being harsh on. He's definitely not the worst of the bunch, but I'm being harsh on him because of this. First of all, he runs or is part of a nonprofit for human rights that has a ton of money donated to it to helping crypto initiatives, but only Bitcoin. And Bitcoin is not the best sovereignty tool out there. It does not have built-in privacy. It does not scale. In order to use it as a poor person in Africa, let's say, you need to use these second layer networks, which that means you need to trust these larger companies that can get rugged, which Bolts just did get rugged and might have their canary warrant also lapsed. So who knows what's up with that? That's a different thing. Too many rabbit holes for tonight. But the point is, this dude will not entertain any other technology and just calls everything a shitcoin. When Zcash was pumping and they're saying encrypted Bitcoin, human rights, privacy, he was calling it like a pre-mined shitcoin and stuff, and just being all like arrogant about that stuff. And like, dude, this could help save people's lives. Privacy could save dissidents in other countries that their human rights foundation should be doing. But because he's a maxi prick, he's not doing this stuff, right? And then he's like, oh, he goes on the Lex Friedman podcast, like, oh, I recommend Cold Card. He talks about Cold Card and this stuff without doing his proper research, even though it was not even open source at the time. It was open code, but not reproducible and all this other stuff. And he kind of did this big mea culpa about, oh, I'm sorry, I recommend something that made you guys lose all your money. But then he's like, oh, but we have to remember still no shit coins or something. I'm like, bro, your whole anti-everything not Bitcoin stance created this thing that he admitted to, this toxic maximalist sort of cult where if someone is toxic and maximalist, you believe them. You trust their crappy ass, scammy, stealing hardware wallet. That might have been an inside job, but we'll wait till the data to come out on that. But the point is, this mofo, I would kill to get on LIVESTREAM, not because I care to be on there, but because I think he's a great podcast host and a great reach. And there's a lot of good that the stuff I think I know. I mean, I think there's a lot of good if I could talk about this kind of stuff on the show like that could happen. This guy squandered it by, I'm sure there's so many people that signed up to buy a cold card and got scammed and lost their life savings because he's the one that was talking about that casually there. I think there's a lot of other people that were like, you know what? I heard everyone uses a Trezor or Ledger, but this guy, who must be smart because he's on Lex Friedman's show, is talking about a Bitcoin only stuff, and that's way better. So therefore, I'll do the cold card instead of these because that's the Bitcoin only one. It's got to be safer and better, right? And then they get scammed and wrecked. This guy does not use his voice, and he's irresponsible and has hurt people because of this, and he continues to do so, and he deserves to be condemned because of this. Again, he could be a lovely person in a lot of other ways, but these are real things that this is the dark side of like influence and fame, is you kind of believe your own horseshit. And I don't believe mine. I just pay for, I live day in, day out with a new data feed. But like the second someone knows more than me, I'm like, that guy knows more, because otherwise I will become, oh, I got 120,000 followers and who are you? And I've been doing this for so long with this. And then I just tell people, why don't you do this? And this is what I'm comfortable with. And then they get wrecked. And then I'm just like, whoopsie, I caused damage. And I'm like, nope, I'm not going to be that guy. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, that guy's a bitch. Check it out. If I made a mistake like that, I don't say I apologize, but. No, you just apologize. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you don't say you don't apologize and but. No, you just say, listen, this is the biggest mistake I've ever made. I'm really sorry. I hurt a lot of people. I honestly didn't know. I thought I was giving you good information. I do my best, blah, blah, blah. That would be humanizing. That would be fair, right? Like, it's okay to have a character arc where you get out of maximalism, right? Yeah. But if you don't do that, well, there's not much saving grace for you.
And to be fair, I have to think about everyone I've seen. Guy Swan. I know this guy. He's been on my podcast. Don't really talk a lot because he's a maxi and I'm not, and therefore but he recommended cold card. People lost money, and he just apologized. He was just like, dude, I screwed this up. I'm sorry. I really thought this was the best. I'm at a loss. And he did not he did not do the bitch Alex Gladstein shit. He's a real guy. Just want to say, again, someone I disagree with on a lot of things, but I just want to before you think I'm just dumping on everyone I don't know. This guy, at least, I think, did the right thing, what I would probably do in his, because who knows? Am I going, like, well, yeah, I did do a video at one point. It was a short, like a YouTube short, where I showed people how to provide liquidity on the Maya protocol and Thorchain, I think Savers as well, and also how to stake on the Anchor protocol for Terra Luna. I just said, hey, if you want to do these things, this is how. It's like a basic how. I didn't recommend any of these things, but I did show people how. Someone might have deposited on Luna and gotten wrecked because of the video. I'm not perfect. I did later on the night live show talk about, oh, this Luna thing's looking a little sketchy these days, kind of thing. But the point is, like, you have some grace for people that step on landmines here and there. But like this whole, like, I learned nothing from it and we'll do it again. It's like, I don't like that.
Yeah. I think go ahead, Red.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I just agree with both of you, and I wanted to say something to Jenny. I really don't love that you just told everyone about the I apologize but thing, because as a neurodivergent narcissist, that is a trick I use a lot when I'm trying to, like, be dismissive of something I did wrong. But what is wrong with all of these people that just said, you know what, I made a bad call, and I'm sorry, like, ugh. I'm messing with you. No, but I mean, I think that is a good thing, because you know what? If they just said, hey, I'm sorry, I can respect that, like you were kind of just saying before. But people who are just like, whatever, I learned nothing, and and some of these people, you know full well that they know how to research well, and they probably knew all along that it could fuck with people and people were going to lose money, and they were omitting information on purpose. Like, those people, I don't have any, I mean, those people deserve to have bad consequences. Carry on.
Let me be a little more nuanced in what you said. I mean, I think I agree with what you said. I don't think the maxi brain or whatever is just like, I know I'm misleading people, but I'm doing it anyway. I don't think it's that front and center. I think what it starts with is they have a worldview and they believe it and they have reasons to believe it. And then something comes in that challenges it a little bit, where they're like, oh, this damn shit corner. You made a good point on this. And it's just that first refusal to acknowledge the good point that then keeps you in this isolated thing. So it's never a conscious choice of, I'm going to lie to these people. No, they believe it, but they did make conscious choices along the way to not expand their knowledge or worldview and not be like, to be fair, they did say this. I still think Bitcoin is the only thing worthwhile. This was a fair point. The failure to do that leads you down this thing where it's like, you know, to be fair, I do think that Bitcoin only stuff is better because you get to focus on just one coin and you don't lose all this time doing this stuff. However, Trezor's been worked through with all this kind of stuff over these years, and it's probably a safer option than something like Cold Card right now. Although I'm keeping an eye on Cold Card because I like what they're doing. So that kind of humility that would have saved some people, even if you're a maximalist still. It's just that you don't let it creep in. You get that, no, I know everything. And
that comes back to humility, like what you were talking about before. And they are absolutely responsible for getting sucked into that mindset to the point where they still are like, I have learned nothing, right? Because what's the difference between like somebody who's a little bit psychopathic versus somebody who's not? If I fuck up, be like, you know what, Joelle, I fucked that up. And then the next thing would be like, I've got to change my behavior after the fact to prove that I actually fucking learned something. But if it's just like, oh, well, I wandered down a rabbit hole of ignorance and arrogance, and I'm just going to keep being this way because I'm the center of the fucking world and Bitcoin forever, you know, fuck that, you know, because like, I mean, some of these, I mean, like when they're too maxi, you know, I mean, it is a disease, as Justin Bonds has said so many times before, but like also with some of these people, they are, I don't want to say delusional, but you're right. I mean, they are to the point now where they actually believe, right? And that's a word I've divorced, believe. They do believe in their own shit, but it's because they've been lying to themselves for so long that that's the only thing that they can do next. That's the only thing that they can do. I mean, like, because if they don't lie to themselves, how are they going to rationalize lying to everyone else? Yeah,
I think it actually might be more. It might be far sinister than that. Not all of them, of course, but I think a lot of these Bitcoin maximalists, they actually have a sufficiently high IQ to understand the dangers of tribalism, and also understanding that the first iteration of any technology that's ever existed is never the best solution. Like the first light bulb that was created looks nothing like, it does look like it, but you know what I mean? There's so many changes, so many improvements done, that to be a maximalist is kind of a weird thing for someone of a high IQ in a dynamic world. And so what I suspect, I fear, this is a rabbit hole thing, sorry, is that like some of these individuals are actually like false prophets in some ways, where they purposely are maximalists and they actually are trying to discredit this industry, right, by purposely causing damaging events. I would not be surprised at all, because we've already seen that how Bitcoin's already captured. That was done for a reason, because it was interpreted as a threat. And what better way to harm the entire industry, all innovation yet to come, if you make it seem like a dangerous field with landmines everywhere? Go ahead, Joel.
Yeah, there's a possibility for that. I think the smart maximalists are exploitative. Just like there's lots of smart people in crypto. The foot soldiers believe anything, right? It's easy. The one true God of crypto idea is something that more normie type people can buy into. And they're like, well, this guy's very smart and he says a lot of smart things about that, so I'm going to buy into that. I give them a little bit less responsibility, like the plebs. And it's funny because like projection, but also whatever you call projection when it's like when you joke about something that ends up being real. It's kind of like Freudian slips, right? Projection and Freudian. Oh, that should be a new article on maximalism of projection and Freudian slips. But it's totally that, because the Bitcoin hodler people are known as 80 IQ plebs, and they call themselves that. And there's a lot in that that's unfortunate. There's some truth, a lot of truth to that these are maybe not, that's kind of mean, but they're maybe not like, maybe 110, but like they're not like the top genius people, and they are like the plebs that listen to their overlords. And so those are the guys who got wiped out by this cold card thing. It wasn't like of all these influencers who recommended this, who were sponsored by Cold Card, the number of them that I've seen say I lost funds are like very, very low. And part of it is that, to be fair, if they're more technical, they probably used a 25th word passphrase on their wallets, or they used a multi-sig setup or something where they wouldn't get wrecked even though they used a cold card. But probably a lot of them just didn't even use one. And so just the plebs like, I'm trying to be a good boy, I'm doing this. And then they're the ones that get wrecked. That's the circle of exit liquidity, right? It just all comes around. The same thing happened with the whole Sailor thing. And I do think, and during this time, Sailor sold like 100, like I forget how much, but he sold like hundreds of millions of Bitcoin during the same time that all this is being hacked. I've seen so many times people defending him. Yeah, it's, you just don't get it. The financialization of this and blah, blah, like all this stuff about Sailor's weird pyramid scheme. They don't get it at all. And I just think that the landing is going to, maybe I'm being optimistic here. I think the landing is going to be slow enough that we never see the crash out. We never see the, we never see like all of Sailor's minions lose everything all in one go. But like, there's a lot of people that were just like, I don't understand, but this guy says Bitcoin and never sell, and sell your kidney if you must, and all this kind of stuff. And he must be smart because he's up there and he's got a leather chair and a bookcase behind him. And like, then they buy into his crap and then they lose all their money. So Sailor knows what he's doing. That guy is not going to have a happy afterlife. But there's a lot of those up there.
Absolutely.
No, but I think part of the reason why I think it's important for us to have these conversations is because even though those people are absolutely responsible, the ones who knew better, who were deluding themselves or whatever it was, like, and I'm not saying that they're not responsible for what they did. Like, one of the things I think we can do by just showing people, or you talking to people about Orchard or, you know, Thorchain, Denny, whatever, it's just like, you know, showing people that, hey, you can do it, and yes, it's possible. Because here's the thing, if somebody truly wants to help you, right, they're not up there thinking, oh, how smart do I sound, or how can I win this beautiful argument today? Like, when somebody is really helpful to you, the first thing that comes out of your mouth, even if they are smart, or the first thing you're thinking is not like, oh my God, they're so smart, I should just do whatever they do. Somebody who really knows how to exercise that intelligence properly, like you two, like, the first thing I think of is, yes, they're smart, but I think they're kind, and they want to make things accessible and understandable to people. Because of someone like Denny or someone like Joel, I'm empowered to research more. I'm empowered to trust myself more. A lot of the times when people get wrecked in life, it's because they never learned how to trust themselves, right? I mean, that's a lot to come to it. And circling back to something that you said earlier about, well, there's no course on this and there's no course on that in crypto. I mean, I do have some people in colleges that are really all about that. We'll have to chat about that offline, and we will. But the point is that someone who's no longer in my life, he was a Bitcoin maximalist. He used to look like this whenever you talk about Bitcoin. One of the things that he said, which was so true, is that, like, why it's important to be, you know, be hanging around with tech people, whether you're going to meetups, conventions, or whatever, however you're communicating with them, is because those people are on the cutting edge. And even if you don't consider yourself quote unquote technical or whatever, it's like, I don't give a fuck. You know, the dev who is smoking crack all day long in front of his computer is more technical than everyone. What am I going to do? Give him a fucking cookie? No, but we can be responsible for whatever we learn. All this information is being researched by people before it gets to university. And by the time it becomes academic, then they can charge you a shit ton of money and you're getting scammed by the good old college American bullshit. Sorry to say. I mean, and that's not always the case. There are exceptions to the rule. But like, if I saw that Joel went bankless and he didn't have to go to college to learn that, well, that empowers me to be like, well, I can learn from him too. Or like, look at what Denny's doing on Thorchain. He didn't have to go to school to learn that. He used his brain, he used his community, he used AI, whatever, whatnot, and you're doing it. You see what I'm saying?
You know, I will say about inspiring, hopefully some people get inspired in the opposite direction. There's someone who posted somewhere around a couple hours ago who said his first post was like, it's been nearly 1 week since my wallet was drained. I've lost my entire Bitcoin stack, presumably the most of the entire attack, which it's got to be many, many millions then for this guy. And then this part here is his big thing. And unfortunately, it sounds like he learned nothing at the end of this, which is, I mean, good, at least he's good spirits and stuff. But this part, he says, I came from nothing and did everything right. I stayed away from trading, exchanges, shit coins, ICOs, NFTs, false prophets, etc. Quietly and consistently built up over the years through all the ups and downs, never spending frivolously on material goods, but instead using Bitcoin as my sense of freedom and security with the hopes to pass it on to my future children. And he got wrecked. Did everything right. Did everything they told him to do. Oh, no, stay away from all this stuff. Oh, you can't do this. They just, adhere to the sacred words of the prophet, Adam Bank, and you will be all right and you will be taken care of. And yet he still got wrecked. Unfortunately,
that's like him not. That's an example of him also not trusting himself, right? Because it's like, if everything I did, like, I think it's good for us to have disagreements sometimes. If I did everything that Denny said without question, without researching it, like, and then I want to blame it all on Denny, I haven't learned any kind of self-responsibility. And all of you guys that are in my world, I mean, like, you guys are hella smart, hella a lot of things besides smart, innovative, creative, funny, etc., and so on and so forth. But no matter what, you could miss something.
It's got to be in my bio now. It's like hella a lot of things besides smart.
You're also smart. but you see, my point is, like, no matter what, anybody can miss something. Sometimes you think of something that they didn't, and that's the beauty of the reality of collective intelligence. I was talking to Indigenous Gems about that when we were just talking about AIs being able to, like, talk to one another. It's like, stop just like, I'm not saying that I shouldn't listen to you or I shouldn't listen to any of our friends that I deeply respect, but I think it's important for us to, with our individual experiences, we're going to, like, research things slightly differently. And I think that that's important because, ultimately speaking, going back to the history of humanity, why specifically have we as humans been able to thrive, right? Well, historically, it's because of our collective intelligence, our collective cooperation, that we've been able to accomplish as much as we have, from big companies to the pyramids to whatnot. It's really our collective intelligence that's our greatest strength. And if we can remember that even within collective intelligence, that we need to, trust ourselves and not just like let even our dearest friends, not let them go off into the oblivion on something that they might be doing wrong or a point that they missed. I think that's importance. That's the key. And I think, now in this beautiful age of AI, collective intelligence is just going to be, like, more apparent. Like, it's not about, like, oh, this guy in the room, blah, 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 like, and I'm just going to do whatever he says. It's like, he might have way more knowledge on this subject, and that's great. But I can talk to somebody else over here, and I might ask a question about something that he's working on that he hasn't thought of. you know, and end of story. And like, I mean, that's why we have these conversations, because all by yourself, yes, I could watch you for an hour, but like when we talk about this all together, we get farther, and we're able to be more creative. That's all I got. I don't know. I feel like Denny's been awfully patient, or maybe not.
No, you're fine. I thought that was great. Yeah, there's actually, I know we're almost 3 hours deep. That's when it comes to like.
I should let you guys go. It's I didn't realize how long we'd been like streaming. It's just I like talking to you guys.
Well, you know where I live, and you can always beat Denny into submission to come back on again, I'm sure. But yes, I mean, this has definitely been a good chat. It's kind of funny how we go through like let me try to tie it up some way. I don't have a plan to do this. I'm just going to wing it. But when we started off just talking about like free society and how privacy is important and everything. And then we end up talking about the stuff that Dash is doing in particular about that. And then we get in this big, long, like maxi ramble about screw the maxis for shitting on all this stuff. And then how do we come full circle from this? Well, basically, the thing is, we have what's valuable, which is a free and sovereign society. We have tools to get there now, and the tools are multiplying all the time. And I have 3 interviews I'm doing this yesterday, today, and tomorrow. I already did one for my own podcast, and a bunch of like self-custody setups, and another one's in zero knowledge privacy in Bitcoin Cash as well. So like I'm going full in on a lot of non-maxi stuff from my own perspective. Like obviously I like Dash, I use Dash and it's day job, but I'm constantly going into other stuff that's external because there's a lot of cool stuff. That's the warning of what we could be. We could just be like, look, I like my tech stack, I like my community, I like my people. Let's just push this on people, and if it doesn't always work, you know, like that's the other thing. I'm not telling most or almost anyone to close their bank account, because I don't want to go, I close my bank account, my life sucks because of you. Like, I don't want that on my conscience. I want to be normal, and I want to be real in recommending this stuff. Be like, hey, why don't you just try it out? And so it's like, don't have more money than you can afford to lose in either your crypto stuff or in your bank account, because you could lose that too. These are the realistic trade-offs of these things. So we know where not to go with the maxiness that would get everyone wrecked. The affinity scam, as it were. That's a lot of those going on in crypto. So to just sort of bring it all around, the future is ours if we want to have it. We can have a free future if we want. The tools are there. The thing is, we are in the way. We are in the way of our own future, because I think, first of all, a lot of people just get sidetracked. And we're talking about the bad maxis, but what about the good ones? What about the random people in random other communities? They're just like, oh, I just love this. I'm being such a good boy, and this. And sometimes you need to be like, listen, I should diversify my efforts a little bit, or maybe just switch things, because this is good still. I don't have to divorce with my favorite stuff, but maybe I'm pushing it at the expense of other things. Got to diversify that stuff, not take advantage of people, not scam people, obviously. But also, I think that those of us who are on the right path or care about the good stuff are shy. Right? I think that we don't like putting our faces. I mean, we are putting our faces a little bit out there for a few hundred people, but I think those of us don't like to be like, yeah, I know everything, and come on, use this stuff. And we're just naturally not as self-belief filled as the worst of these pathetic scammers. And so we're playing at a power asymmetry. How are we ever going to win? How is a free society ever going to happen if those of us who believe in and know the good things that will free the world are just kind of, well, I think I kind of like is what I do, and just a little bitchy about it. Whereas then the scammers are throwing their nuts in your face, just like, oh my gosh, buy my coin, you're going to be rich. And then they lose all their money. I thought it was a good idea, and then no one cares, right? So I think we need to. The tech is here to live free. We need to be bold in living free and bold in promoting the tech, living free, and that's it.
Love it. Love it. I can try and do a little topper on that, but that was beautiful.
You know what, Denny, you just be you. Remember when you said being an American is a journey, not a destination? And remember when I mentioned how I saw you as a good American and you said, I feel so seen? Well, you know how they say real recognizes real? Americans recognize Americans. So however you word it, it's the perfect American way to word whatever you want to say right now.
I want to be a New Hampshire person, I gotta say. I think they're onto something over there. I don't know what an American means anymore sometimes, but yeah, I like what you said. I think what I would like, just a little topper on that. I don't want to rehash because it was perfectly stated. Just try it. You know what I mean? Like, everyone knows, like, if you're like me and you're like, oh, I don't like fiat, so I'm buying like silver and crypto and I'm diversifying my assets, you know, a Dash is like 30 something bucks right now. I think it's like close to 30 bucks. You know, make a goal. Get a Dash wallet. If you can afford 30 bucks, it's up to you. Whatever you can afford to, no judgment here. And then say, I'm going to go buy beef jerky at Walmart. Just try something. Just try something. And that journey will make you so useful and so much more comfortable if you ever really need to use it. You know what I mean? It's just getting your foot in the door. Just try something simple like that. Everyone likes beef. If you're vegan, I don't know, go buy tomato. I don't know. But you know what I'm saying? Just try something like that. Real utility, experience in the real life. And that's it.
I'm gonna use that. Like now, instead of when I want to tell someone to go screw themselves, I'm gonna say, go buy a tomato.
Go buy a tomato. Yeah. I don't. I had one person in my life who was a vegan, and they were very iron deficient, and they had to start eating eggs. So, I know it can be done correctly, but I don't know. Just eat meat, guys. Meat's awesome.
Oh my God, I'm feeling so not seen right now. Like I have a vegan NFT project where people can get access to all of these beautiful vegan products, and now now people are just gonna remember Joelle saying, "Go eat a tomato." I'm kidding. No, I mean, everything that everything you said, Joelle, is beautiful. I mean, beautifully worded. You know, Denny, like, I love you going on about just like what's real. I don't know if I have much to say other than, to close us out, because I agree with you all so very much, is just to express my gratitude for talking to me for more than 3 hours about stuff, because we just know it's important. So all of you guys who are listening out there, download yourself, and anything to do with Dash. You've got partners with Edge Wallet. Just try it out. Like, and I you know what? I lied. I do have something to say. We're all telling you to try all of these things, but ultimately, because we're promoting privacy, because we're promoting all these beautiful protocols, it's because we want you to live free, and to live free, you have to learn to trust yourself. So guys, don't just take Joelle's word for it. Don't just take Denny's word for it. Try it out yourself and tell us how you like it. And then answer this question: how does it feel to trust yourself? All right, guys. Citizen Glitch out. Thank you.